On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're stepping inside 4 of New York City's most extraordinary townhouses. We begin in Brooklyn, where 2 artists have created their first home together, an eclectic safe haven filled with treasures from their travels, fabulous art, and a spectacular vinyl room. Next, we pass through an iconic blue door on the Upper East Side. We visit a world of early 1900s elegance infused with modern glamour, where layered interiors are alive with whimsical details and a dramatic red library that feels like a portal to another world. From there, we head to Gramercy Park, where we meet a creative director who has transformed his 1800s townhouse apartment into a personal museum. And finally, we step into the dazzling world of an artist whose Manhattan townhouse is an explosion of color, texture, and playfulness. Together, these remarkable spaces celebrate the boldness, beauty, and imagination that make New York City living truly unforgettable. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Oh, hello there. Hey, Homeworthy. I'm Skylar.
I'm Temi.
And welcome to our Brooklyn townhouse. Why don't you come on in?
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Temi.
I'm Skylar. We're both multidisciplinary artists, so we do a wide variety of things.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of luxury content marketing across lifestyle, home, fashion. Content. Yeah, and I feel like we've been, go ahead.
Creative direction.
Yep, creative direction, consultation work on the brand end. We're just both big lovers of art and poetry, and so we do everything we can to infuse that into our work.
Yeah.
We are currently in Brooklyn, New York. We're both born and raised in Georgia, actually. His family's from Nigeria.
Yours is Barbados. Only, 30 minutes away from each other?
Absolutely. We grew
Georgia?
up 30 minutes away from each other in
Without
Georgia.
knowing.
Had no idea until we met. And yeah, we've been together ever since. I've been here about maybe 7
years. I've been here about 6 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I've been in New York for 11 years, and Tami's been here for 6 years. So this is the entryway into our home, and one of the most integral parts, in my opinion, because it is the first thing people see, and first impressions are everything.
Everything.
Absolutely. So we were actually thinking a lot about how, when it came to people entering the space, how kind of uncomfortable it might be to be immediately greeted by the back of our couch. So we decided to greet people with our conversation pieces, our coffee table books.
And our coffee table books really speak to us and who we are as individuals.
Yeah.
You'll find a wide
everything,
array,
honestly, everything. We've got Black Futures.
Vegas, Outside the Frame,
Yep.
Thames and Hudson. We have our friend Joe Kenneth there at the bottom.
Absolutely. Tyler Mitchell's I Can Make You Feel Good, Black Futures, of course, Black Fashion Fair. It was our first edition, and so it's still in the plastic, still in the acrylic box. We're not playing games.
Not taking that out until 2062.
We'll give it to our kids as kids. We also have Afro Atlantic, writing the future with Basquiat and the hip hop future generation.
We have some Hayao Miyazaki over there. We are both big Studio Ghibli fans.
Absolutely. Big Japanese, anime, storytelling, craft fan. So because of Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki was an easy choice to have.
Too easy.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Totoro.
Absolutely. And then so we also have a piece by Maya Beverly. She's my cousin and also a brilliant artist. We wanted sculpture and color to play into the space, just to, again, add texture in a really fun way.
Yeah, I really wanted, your visual senses to be well fed when you walk through the door.
And to give you something to talk about, we are yappers, but just in case we run out of things to say, we have books to talk about. Let the people know we're well read. We're well read. And then on this side of the entry, because we haven't painted all of our downstairs area.
Well, this one is by my favorite artist.
You like her?
Yeah, she's great. Love her, actually.
Well, it's me. That's why. I actually love arts and crafts. Temi loves me, so he lets me play around and put things up in our home. You'll see another piece that I've also done as we move through the space. But we wanted something that, again, was really big, larger than life, welcoming as people walked into the space. And so it's really just homey because we have this piece that I've created and then also a vintage bench that we sourced. And then just a lot of like organic pieces that play into the space to make it feel fun and at home.
Yeah.
So as we move into the living room area, we have our favorite couch by Sarah Ellison.
Skylar wanted a conversation pit
I
in our
wanted
home.
a conversation pit so badly.
And I was like, we're not gonna drill into the floor of this home. But this is literally the next best thing. I mean, you want to sit down in it?
Absolutely, we have to show them like the full.
Like you can get so deep in it. It doubles as a bed, a couch.
It has been used as a bed to my
an actual conversation pit.
It was tough, but
That's nice.
We knew that this was something that was an easy add because it's super timeless, and then also something that people could feel really comfortable.
People love this couch.
Yeah, it's
just as much as
definitely
we
a
do.
focal piece of the space. We actually started with this couch and we just decided to build. So you'll see a lot of pieces from our Nordic knots rug. The coloring is really fun. We also have this really dope side chair that Temi is obsessed with.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did
My
you say
favorite.
it reminds you of? Like the front of a car.
An old school Chevy.
Yeah, absolutely, which is like really vibey. And you'll see a lot of textures kind of playing into the space in a fun way.
Yeah, this one's beautiful too from Anthropology.
Absolutely.
This is our plant.
The love of Temi's life. He
Basil.
put so much life into this plant. I will call out too, Temi and I love to travel, and when we travel, the biggest way we pass our time outside of reading and taking lots of cute pictures is actually by playing chess.
Yeah, I actually started playing chess in middle school and I never stopped there. It's just a great way to have conversation, keep your brain active.
He loves to beat me, so I don't know. That's why he likes
she's
to play
getting
chess,
better.
because
She's
he
getting
knows
so
he's
much
really
better.
good. And then above our chess and side table, which I actually think this is a great example too of like both of our energies coming into the space because it's functional but also beautiful. You can play with it.
The
it's
Dame
a
Moore
conversation
right
piece.
overhead.
And then we have our Dame Moore piece. We have a couple of pieces by this artist in our space, but it just has so much personality and like fun energy that it adds to this room, along with a lot of the shapes. So we have like this really funky lamp in this corner that also kind of plays off of some of the sculpture that we have on our side table that people often will lean onto, rest their drinks on, all the things. As we move into the center of the room, this is actually a Christmas decoration that Temi hasn't said anything about. So
I love it. Yeah, no, do your thing.
Okay,
It's
good.
actually beautiful.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'm so glad we could come. I waited to breach it during this video. So
Just so many things you can choose from. Let's start at the bottom. We recently visited the Alvin Ailey exhibit at the Whitney Museum.
yeah.
Wow.
Blew our minds.
So good.
Obsessed.
What an exhibit.
And I told Temi I'm leaving here with something. Every time we leave a museum, I need a book to add to our collection.
And that's how you know it's a good exhibit, when you're
Yeah.
touched to the point that you want to take some of it home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we ended up doing that. And then we have some prints from some of our
favorite
good
artists
friends,
and great friends. So we knew that it was important for us to create and collect and curate Black art in our home that was of creators who are still alive, so that we can give them their flowers now.
Clennon, we have Tayo Kuku Jr.
We have Dante Maurice and Ahmad Barber for Black Fashion Fair.
We
Just
have
a really
Jordan
striking
Blake.
piece.
Yeah.
Jordan Blake with our friend CJ in it. I think these pieces just add so much storytelling to the space.
Yeah.
Like such great texture and I don't know. There's just so much about it that adds to what we have going on here.
And you feel the skill in what they do and the intention as well. They're
Absolutely.
all legendary photographers. And
Yeah.
I just can't wait to see what they continue to build from here.
For sure. And then of course I have to shout her out again, Maya Beverly. This piece by Maya is also a brilliant piece. She just does a really good job of capturing the essence of like a feeling in her pieces. And I think this really just grounds the media cabinet in a really great way. This is actually from Target, and then I painted it because I love to give things new life. So we have a mix of a lot of new pieces and vintage pieces. For instance, this bowl, which we thrifted, that again, I'm just a texture girl. I love anything that adds a little flavor to the space.
So what we're wearing today, I have a thrifted bowed top
Nice.
from 2nd Street. I have jeans from Honor the Gift, Russell Westbrook's band, big OKC fan, so only natural.
Loves to put on, yeah.
I have a Larvi watch from Germany.
Which we fought tooth and nail to get a hold of. It was tough.
Had to get it through customs and everything, but well worth it. Oura ring, big about my health. Fossil watch ring.
Simwero,
and
Omi Woods.
Woods.
Yep, such a good balance. And then for me, this is actually a skirt I thrifted while we were in Japan. We have been to Japan 3 times in the last year span alone. We love it there.
We love Japan. It feels like home.
Yeah, absolutely. And we spent a lot of money there, and a lot of it is clothes. And then my top is from Febin, also on Essence. I just love how artsy it is. It's like adds so much flavor to my look, and there's so many ruffles and crinkles, and it just is so full of life.
Yeah,
so
it makes you
so
the art
much.
that you are.
Oh, period. Gas me up. And then for my rings, I also have Simwero, Greece, New York, which is based here in Brooklyn, as well as Cal, and then some thrifted pieces as well.
What about the earrings?
Oh, and my earrings are from Ferris Jewelry and Justine Clonquet. And my little fur slippers are actually from Steve Madden. How fun are they? You know, she's comfortable, she's chic, but she's comfortable in her home. Yeah, absolutely. So we met on Instagram.
It was
nothing I could have ever imagined would ever happen.
Yeah. It was a warm fall night. You know, I was scrolling.
Not a warm fall night. I love that you have these adjectives ready to go.
I was scrolling and I'm like, no, I'd seen a friend's
reposted me on a trip. Yes.
Yeah, and I was just like, who is this? Like,
he was a ham. And he slid in my DMs and he called me Muse. Mm-hmm. And that's how you get my attention. I like being called, something beautiful. So when I saw him in my DMs, I was like, who's this handsome man? We went back and forth. We started to share our love for like music and food and, art and
culture.
Yeah, I think the reason he ended up really snagging me is because he made me a playlist. Within the first 5 minutes of us going back and forth, he was like, I'm going to make you a playlist. And it was curated and had my name at the top. And I was like, who do you do this for? Is this just me? Or am I special? I convinced him to move to New York. He thought I was going to move back to Atlanta with him.
We were long distance for a year.
Absolutely.
And so then I moved from DC to Atlanta because I was like, I'm convinced her to come back to Atlanta with me.
I don't know what he thought. New York is the city of dreams, baby. I wasn't going anywhere.
I was in New York for a few months and then it was wraps.
Yeah, it was wraps. I just think we found so many beautiful aspects of our relationship in this city together. So it's so easy for us to kind of fall into step. And we've been together for 6.5 years and we're locked in right now.
Ready for 7.
Absolutely.
So we love to host. Again,
absolutely.
When friends come over, we want them to feel like they're actually at home. When you come into the space, the first thing you see is our prized possession.
Yeah, our Arnold Butler piece. It was the first piece that the first pieces of art we've ever bought.
Yeah, it was commissioned.
Yeah, we commissioned it from Arnold. He is just a brilliant artist based out of Atlanta. So that was also great to be able to kind of show him love and let him create a piece that would tie the space together. Before we got more moved into the space, we actually hadn't painted the walls. And so we decided to have a piece that could feel like it was filling up the space and adding color. We also have these beautiful chairs by Lulu in Georgia. Mm-hmm. We knew we wanted to mix and match because, again, balance. So there's chairs here that are more aesthetically pleasing and beautiful, and then the comfy ones.
The nice
so something for Temi, something for me. Yeah.
These chairs feel like mini couches.
Absolutely.
They're absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And then for our centerpiece, we actually got this from a studio in Cape Town while we were visiting a designer, Emily, for Elegance. Yep. It's just all of her pieces are based off of pieces or shells that you might find when you're walking on the shore.
Yeah, if you ever have the chance to visit Cape Town, swing by her shop. It's amazing, but also the property/farm that she lives on is
just
beautiful
gorgeous
as
and
well.
Everything I would like to do with my life. But we literally walked in, saw it, and I told Temi, I need this.
Yeah,
we have to leave with this. So we actually paid for this centerpiece. She shipped it in a crate, and we hadn't even moved in yet. We kept it in the crate in our last apartment until we moved here, and it was the first thing that we put out. I mean, once our dining table finally arrived, which Temi picked this dining table out. Because he loved the shape of it and the design of it.
Yeah, we used to have like a large 8 person cedar dining table, and
We
for this
love to
home,
host,
it just
yeah.
didn't feel like that was needed with everything being so close to each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And because the space is not properly separated, we wanted to make sure that they still felt distinct.
Yeah, they each had their own
Little corner, lush
little nook.
corner. So so we have this 4-seater, so it's super intimate and feels super good. And we set the table because we didn't know if you guys were, gonna stay and have a little something to eat.
breakfast.
I don't know.
A little
If you're
Winston
hungry,
bakery.
we have something here for you.
My favorite piece.
The love of his life, outside of me, and yeah.
So I definitely wanted to make sure that the bar kind of gave an upper echelon hotel kind of vibe to it. So I did a lot of research onto bar carts that kind of upgrade your home per se. So we actually got this from
Jonathan Adler.
And it's crazy because we're not actually people who drink.
We don't drink at home. I'll have a glass of wine. Sometimes we'll have it over dinner, but we don't really drink unless we have friends over, which I know you probably think, that's crazy with all that they have, but we have to keep it fully stocked because we love to have people in our house.
This portion right here, nice to make drinks off, drinks on while people enjoy the living room or the dining space or in the kitchen.
Yeah, it actually really comes in really handy because we need as much surface area as possible when we have people over. So then when we pop this out, we can make a couple of drinks.
Pass it around.
Yeah, put whiskey on the rocks. Is that what the guys do? And then we get to go, or the girls, because I heard there's different preferences with what the people like these days. But yeah, I think it's such a great and multifunctional bar cart. And again, a great balance of both of our energy. It's just so beautiful, but then it has so many components to it.
Yeah, it's functional in its use, but it's also functional in its timelessness.
Yeah.
I mean, this will probably be with us for the rest of our lives.
Absolutely, super timeless. And we were thinking about that as we were sourcing items. How can we be intentional? Will this last in any space that we go into? I think our design preferences are maximalist mixed with Japanese flavor mixed with also a lot of modern energy.
Yeah, a lot of Afro energy as well.
Absolutely. So we wanted to make sure that the pieces that we pulled or bought were able to kind of speak to all of those. And then of course the top of the bar cart has a wide variety of options. It is also a little display as well. Yeah.
You got your non-alcoholic, alcoholic.
Yeah. And we also will then wipe this when people come over clean. We'll move everything off, and we'll often do cocktails here or have hors d'oeuvres here or charcuterie. Really depends on the vibe. But there's so much that we get to do with this part of the house. This is little nook that we have.
Yeah, own space.
Absolutely.
And next we have these bar stools from First Dibs. Another one of my many favorite pieces in the house. The seat is small, but it's so comfortable to actually sit in. I love to just sit here, get a bunch of work done for most of the day. And
Temi thought a lot about how, because I was really big on just getting really cute bar stools, again, that just looked good and felt good. But Temi actually had read an article about how you can elevate your space by treating your bar area as if you were at an actual bar.
Yep.
And so when we thought about what kind of chairs we wanted, he really landed on a color and a vibe that will reflect that, something that you might actually find at your local neighborhood bar.
It just makes me feel like the kind of bar where I could sit down and get a drink, but also get some work done.
Absolutely.
We work from home so much. So
oh my gosh. So we like to spread out. We really work in every single room. But then also we yap a lot. So when he's cooking breakfast or I'm cooking breakfast, the other person is chilling on the bar stools,
talking it up,
typing or talking away. Yeah. We also have some really great vintage thrifted pieces here, from everything from our cutting boards to these cinnamon and sugar shakers, even these travertine holders. We really love to play around with how we're mixing things into the space so that it feels like it's been lived in, and not everything is brand new. Also, Temi loves to save his money. I spend the money, but he likes to save it. So it's great to do that because I also love to thrift.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So the way we found this townhouse was we were ready to move out of our last home, and Brooklyn is so competitive nowadays. To really dig in and find what you want, you have to be on Street Easy, Zillow,
up until odd hours of the morning. Yeah, it was aggressive for a minute because we knew in our last apartment it was just a 2-bedroom and it was not enough space. At a certain point, Temi was losing his mind because he could not find all his clothes because they were under boxes and bags, and it was
I just started wearing the same thing.
Yeah,
like a rotation
there's
of 3
no
fits,
creative expression, and so that was our excuse to get a bigger house. We were like, we need to find our clothes. We need to see all our clothes laid out. So we wanted to find a spot that was big enough for the both of us to really feel like we could move around, and then also so that like a backyard. We love to host. So having somewhere where people could really spread out and feel like they're at home
was in important. The area, they just come slide through.
And we knew Bed-Stuy was somewhere we wanted to stay. We've stayed on the cusp of like Bed-Stuy and Bushwick before, but Bed-Stuy we just are in love with, and it's just like the best place ever. Our community's here, so we wanted to find an apartment in the area, and so we were up late. At 1 in the morning.
I had gone to bed.
And I patted him away. I said, get up, it's time to activate. So we literally hit up the owner that night, and we were like, we'll come and see it in the morning. We had our paperwork ready to go.
And
we
they
came
responded.
and they immediately in the morning, they were like, come through, 8 a.m. So we found it at 1 a.m., went to see it at 8 a.m., put our paperwork in by 9 a.m., and we're locked by 10. We were not playing any games with this apartment.
Like, just good to go.
Yeah.
It was really a blessing. Like, at that moment, when we were ready to re-sign at the place we already were, like, this gift of a home came to us. Now the part of the house that has my heart.
Because he loves to eat. That's why it has his heart. Yeah, and I'm not mad at it. It's just such a beautiful space.
Yes.
We wanted to keep it pretty simple in here because we're doing so much in the living room and the dining room. There's a lot of energy and personality to those spaces. And because the kitchen can get very, I think, dirty pretty quickly or just messy really quickly, we didn't want to have too much on the counter space. I think also we were scarred from our last apartment. We had no counter space.
None.
Everything was on the counters. It was a mess. So we were like, no, we need to actually peel it back a bit and keep it really light. So we have a lot of really strong, I think, pieces in here, but that are really subtle. So we have our Christina Martinez piece, as well as another Daymore piece.
Our good cacti that we've had for about 2 years now.
Yes, and it's been through some things, but we put it in this really beautiful cobalt blue planter to bring some color to the space, along with the stool. My favorite stool that I was telling you guys about, that is just the best. All right, that's the best ever. We just have a lot of lighter pieces. I think this is definitely the more minimal part of our downstairs area.
Minimal, but also brings a level of peace, has a lot of room to, whether you want to put your laptop, tablet down while you cook a meal.
Just because it's a little bit, it's a beautiful kitchen with space, but it can get tight pretty quickly. When you start to bring the pans out and the cutting boards out, you still want to be able to move around and host. We like for people to be able to come in here and lean around. So
chill.
Yeah, and we learned the hard way what it looks like when you're like stuffing things into the kitchen. But we've been thinking about actually maybe putting a wallpaper or of some sort on this wall to add a little bit of flavor. You will also see as you move through the kitchen, especially, a lot of pieces that we actually source when we're traveling, because we're not really big into like cheesy souvenirs and knickknacks when we travel. So we'll bring back bowls and cups, because I love cups.
She loves cups so much.
Temi's tired of the cups, but he actually got me cups for my birthday yesterday.
Yeah,
so that
really
was
nice
so fun. And so this area, I'm going to give it to Temi because it's his pride and joy, but we have tea from Portugal and we have Japanese teacups. We really have it, or coffee cups that we have. There's so much, variety to our space over here. And then the star of this corner, which is Temi's espresso machine.
My Breville espresso machine. So I started actually drinking coffee maybe about 5 years ago. One of our good friends, some of our good friends, Kasim and Chandler, they constantly drank Dunkin' Donuts coffee every morning. And so that was my nice little introduction to coffee. And then I started to dibble and dabble in it and found some that I really like. So I really love Blue Bottle Coffee espresso beans. I do the decaf for Skylar because she's not really a caffeine fiend like that. Yeah. But yeah, I just really have come to love the process. It's kind of part of my morning routine. Get up in the morning, stretch, come down, take my time making a nice cup of espresso, sometimes mixing in some milk. We love Chobani creamer right now. That's definitely our go-to. But yeah, this is just a nice way for me to de-stress or just kind of wake up my body and my mind before getting our day started.
And we start our day outside of journaling in the dining room. We will often come straight to the kitchen. He gets his coffee, I get my tea, which we have a large array of, and we'll just like chill in here. I think that's also why we kept it really light in here, because there's so much light and we just wanted it to feel like beautiful and airy and calming in this space, as opposed to like an onslaught for your senses.
It's a really beautiful way to wake up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We also have just knickknacks throughout the space. These beautiful measuring cups. We get a lot of pieces from Etsy. So you'll see, I'll try to call them out, but these we got from Etsy, and I'm such a fan because they're just so beautiful. And we have serving spoons that are also in the same design. Again, different thrifted cutting boards and bowls, just things that like I'll see and make me feel good. So I'm like, we need it in the kitchen.
Yeah, we keep this Japanese hand fan
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. It's nice to just see. And I remember the exact moment we got it. It's just nice to see like small reminders of where we've traveled to and where we've been and the memories associated with it.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so cool because then immediately you're taken back to that space and kind of transported in a really cool way.
Yeah. When it comes to our home, we make sure to sprinkle plants and living things throughout it. Outside of Momo, it just kind of adds to the life of the building.
Yeah, so, absolutely. It helps it breathe a little easier.
It doesn't feel like we're living in a museum.
Right, exactly. And it just adds so much, I think like, it adds so much ambiance to a room. And I feel like especially with the florals that we choose, we work with a florist, especially for these florals, Olive florals, and she chooses artsy florals that are reflective of the decor that we have in our home. And then the plants that we have, which are, we've really tried to keep alive and keep going.
Snake plants, money plants.
Cacti, it's all just really, it just adds, again, another layer to the space that's been really fun to play with.
And if you have a plant, there's no better feeling than
keeping it alive.
And seeing it flourish, seeing it flourish and seeing it grow over time.
And I will say, in this home, our plants have flourished the most. We've seen them grow in ways unimaginable, especially with our banana tree plant in the. Is it a banana tree plant?
The Birds of Paradise.
Goodness gracious.
With our Birds of Paradise, we've seen it grow for sure. It was about yay big when we first got it, and now it towers over me.
Absolutely.
And you'll see it upstairs. We have a Ficus Audrey that was shocked when it came into the house.
Yeah.
The leaves were falling. It was almost branch or leafless.
I said, same sis, but then we filled up the space and then she got right. And so did I. It was like, it was a good balance. So yeah, it's been really cool to bring a lot of plants into space. And actually we got a little carried away at some point, but the fun part about this home is there's many rooms that we can shove them all into. And they're right in front of big, beautiful windows that kind of let all that light in to keep them alive. Yeah.
Well, this is our wall of souvenirs.
That actually is what it is. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad we have a name now. When we moved in, we were like, what are we going to do with this space? And I like for things to just look beautiful so that when you're looking around, you're taking everything in. So we actually decided to cram all of these beautiful pieces from all over the world into this space. So we have another Maya Beverly piece, this beautiful little face that she actually gifted us when we bought her other two pieces for our living room space, which was really sweet. And then it just adds such a little face to the space. Yeah. And speaking of little faces, we also have these beautiful bowls from Mexico City that were tough. They were tough to get because Temi thought they were a little scary looking, but I think they're so precious. Look at their little scrunched up faces.
I'm not trying to have something look back at me.
It's me with an attitude, so I understand why he has an aversion.
We have these bottles of wine from Portugal, our second home. We love Portugal so much. I don't remember the exact name of the cafe we were at, but we had these glasses and we were like, please, can we go home with 2 bottles?
Absolutely.
Here at the bottom, some of my favorite cups from Japan.
We got these while they're vintage pieces that we got from a store called Vase along the Maguri River.
Yep.
And in Tokyo. And they just had a wide selection of glasses that were all handmade by the shop. and it was just gorgeous. We knew we had to leave with a few, and there are such great conversation pieces, but then if you want a little glass of wine, they're really great for that too. Much. Absolutely.
We also have some more glasses from Sophie Lou here.
I mean, and then thrifted pieces. Yeah. So we actually found these in Brooklyn. Down the street, there was a church that used to be it always had a big antique sale. If you've lived in Brooklyn for long enough, you know about it. It recently actually closed down, which I'm really sad about, because the guy who sold the pieces for the church actually went to estate sales upstate and then would bring them back on a truck and sell it here, which is just like my heaven. So I got so many great pieces, and I remember sending a picture of these to Temi and going, we need these, right? And he never says no. He's always like, absolutely, of course we do. And then at the very, very top, we have champagne glasses from Soho Home. We love Soho Home's overall aesthetic, and how they use texture and color and all the things to layer a space. So we figured, why not get some beautiful glasses from them as well? And we've actually only broken these out maybe once or twice, so we need to use these more, actually. This is a great excuse. We'll probably pop a bottle after this. What are you thinking?
I'm liking it.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
When it comes to the design layout of our home, we have a total of 4 levels. We have our living room, kitchen, bathrooms, of course. We have our vinyl room, bedroom. We have a content room, a guest bedroom. We
have a basement, which was just a heaven send because it has storage, and we had no storage in our last apartment. Oh my gosh, no one talks about how in New York City you will find a beautiful apartment, but there will be no closets, or there will be no space.
Or you'll have to bring your own, you bring your own dresser.
Oh my gosh, we can't go back now. And then we also have a backyard, a beautiful backyard with a patio that goes down to a lower level where we have grass for Momo to run around in. When it came to filling up the space, we knew we wanted people to be able to flow room to room. I'm really big into feng shui, into how energy moves through a space,
and how a room makes you feel.
And how it makes you feel. And we wanted people to feel like our home was an extension of us, of our energy. And we like to think we're warm and welcoming. How are y'all feeling right now? I don't know. Let us know. So we were talking about, okay, well, how can we play, and how can we bring a lot of like maximalist, heavy texture, color, like modern, but then also a lot of Japanese inspired design. There's like no rules. There's no rules with our space. It was just whatever feels good.
How do we make things, not only beautiful, but also functional as well?
Absolutely. It's meant to be like a retreat for the creative spirit. And so both for us, so that when we come home from working or shooting or traveling, we're excited to come home. But then also for when people come into our home, they feel like, oh, I've been here before, or this feels really familiar.
Like we want it to feel like a home away from home, but also, I guess, with the upkeep of a hotel almost.
We talk a lot about how Temi loves functionality, and then I love aesthetic and design. So we always have to compromise with the pieces that we've selected for every room, and you guys will see that as we move from room to room, how we are really intentional about something looking beautiful, but then also feeling comfortable or making sense.
Yeah, that's why we have this couch and there's not a hole in the ground.
Absolutely.
You wanted a conversation pin?
Yes, so we did get a conversation pin, so what makes sense? And so there's so many things that it was definitely a back and forth conversation. There's a lot of masculine and feminine energy in the space because we wanted to make sure both of us were represented, and then just colors that make you feel good and evoke a lot of inspiration, so that when we look around our space, we can feel like we're getting inspired and able to create beautiful work. Okay, so then tucked off into this nook.
Imagine it's a party, nice little barbecue.
Yeah, you're having a good time. You need to dip off to go to the bathroom, and then you ask us, oh, where's the bathroom? Well, come follow me, it's over here. And so we decided to actually create a really cozy bathroom because it's so small. We wanted to bring in really warm, welcoming walls. So we got this paint from Backdrop to match our Uzo art piece. Uzo Njoku is a brilliant artist. Temi loved this piece because it feels like how our space feels when we host people. We have in this corner, because it was so bare bones, we actually changed the mirror and then added in, of course, the Loewe body lotion and tomato leaves liquid soap. It's a fan favorite. People love for their hands to smell like tomato leaves, which we didn't know would be such a, people would rave in that way. And then we also added a skirt to the bottom of the sink to cover up the bottom, to kind of give it some added, personality and make it feel a little bit cozier in here, which we love, absolutely. We have our bedroom, which is
where we start our day and end our days.
Oh my gosh, and it's my favorite place ever. I told Temi, this is the best bedroom I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, I mean, starting off with the CB2 bed frame.
Absolutely. It's our first king bed. We had a queen in our last apartment.
Yeah.
Again, a very small apartment.
Yeah. Once you have a king size bed.
Yeah, you don't ever want to go back. You never want to go back. So we wanted to keep it really minimal in here. There's a lot of Japanese influence in this space as well, with how light we kept it. The biggest actually focal point of this room outside of the bed, I'd say, is the walls.
Yeah, the lime wash on the walls.
Yeah.
It took a few attempts to get it exactly to where we wanted it to be, but the zen in the room, like
feels
when you
so
walk
good.
in, it feels so good.
And we knew we wanted to not only do the walls, but the ceiling, so it feels really immersive. So the lime wash, because it looks like clouds, also feels like at night when you're looking up, a little sky in and of itself. The paint is actually from Portola Paints. They have a really great lime wash, and I was so excited to try it. It did take us a few times until we got it right, but we did get it right. And we knew for the bed, we wanted it to feel like a hotel bed.
Yeah, that's why I'll tell you. You go ahead and tell your secret for the comforter.
Oh yes, I do a double comforter. Now for my heavy and hot sleepers, I understand that might feel like a lot, but we just kind of coordinate depending on the season. We wanted it to feel really lush because we travel so much and we're always in a hotel bed, and it would suck to leave a hotel bed and not want to go home to your regular bed. Yeah.
The best thing about some hotels out there are the options to choose anywhere between 3 to 10 different kinds of pillows. So on each side of our beds, we have 3 different kinds of pillows depending on how we feel like sleeping.
Absolutely. The more, the merrier. We love pillows. And then they're also a wide variety. So we have a softer and firmer pillow. Again, just so that we feel like we're somewhere really nice and lush.
Like that bed. I think it's Serrata. I think it's a Serrata bed.
Oh, right. Temi chose the mattress. Because of the two of us, I think he's the pickier sleeper, which I can respect, because it means that no matter what he chooses, I will be comfortable.
Because I run hot, so I needed a bed that would kind of keep me cool.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's that.
And so we have the bed as a really cozy piece, but then also this this bench here, our fuzzy bench that we actually use as kind of a bottom portion to our projector. So we don't have a TV in here, as you can tell, but we have a sneaky little projector that we put out at night or when we're wanting to watch a movie. We're really big on not having a lot of tech so close to us while we're sleeping. So Momo, come say hello to the people. So we have this kind of area clear. We were gonna put art here, but we left it empty so that we could have the projector here. And then we also have this beautiful rug from West Elm that is just really warm and inviting.
It's thick as you walk on it, and it's just really, really nice.
It just feels so good on your feet, which I love. This area is great because it acts as storage. We do have a closet, but we knew we needed more space. We have a lot of clothes, y'all, tons of clothes. This dresser is actually from Urban Outfitters. We found it and it just felt timeless for us. We wanted something that we knew we could move into any room as we moved
perfectly into this space, like
it was almost like uncanny. And then the centerpiece here is this Noemi Marguerite piece. She's also a good friend of ours. This is not a wedding we went to or our wedding. It is just a beautiful snapshot of life, and I think having that in this very zen space feels like the right amount of energy.
Yeah, the way the image is shot, it feels like you are there.
Absolutely. And we also have another great Black artist, Hill and Daniel fragrances for the room. We also have Malin and Getz, so we kind of play around with what scent we want in the room. I'm a big candle and incense girly.
She is. My mom actually got her like a Malin and Getz candle box set a few years ago for Christmas.
A woman after my own heart.
After that, she never turned back.
I never turned back. And then we also have, which is really important to us, we don't have a lot of heirlooms that we were given, so we've started to kind of collect our own, and this has kind of become one, I feel like.
Yeah, this was at our old apartment. We got some...
Can you guess what it is? Whose hands these are?
Yeah, so we actually got a little...
casting kit.
Yeah, casting kit, and it was a little date night at the house where we spent our time holding each other's hands in some
in a
plaster.
really soft and intimate way. And it was meant to be a jewelry holder, actually. We wanted it to, again, be functional and beautiful. But now it's just like a really sweet portion of this space, along with, of course, our jewelry box, this beautiful plant, and this pot I love so much because it adds a lot of great texture to this area. We kept it really cute though because we didn't want it to feel too busy in here. It's where we relax.
And then we have the diva of the show, our Ficus Audrey plant. We knew we wanted a tree. We have the queen, our Ficus Audrey plant.
Yeah, she's almost as much of a drama queen as I am, I'd say.
We knew we wanted a tree in the room, but when we were looking at different trees that we could go for, the Ficus Audrey was the closest thing to being a tree that wasn't actually a tree. She's extremely temperamental, so sun, watering, like,
I get it. I get it, sister.
Two peas in a pod.
Absolutely, we are. And Temi knows how to take care of both of us. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But again, we wanted something that added some life to the space. We didn't want to do too much. It's just really a great place for us to chill out, and it's really reflective, I think, in the colors and the vibe that we've brought into this room.
Yeah.
So because we were kind of going for a hotel vibe in this room, we also, beyond the bed, decided to keep it pretty neutral for the side tables. These are also from Urban Outfitters, and we sourced these lamps to kind of balance it. These are some Japanese lamps that we brought in, but we wanted it to we both have our sides. We have, remember, this is my side, that's Temi's side, but they're pretty inconspicuous. You really can't tell whose is whose, which is kind of fun when everything's all, cleaned up. So on either side of the bed as well, we both love to read, and that's usually how we end our nights. Outside of journaling, I would say. So we have on my end my creativity book. I literally have been trying to read this forever. It's called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I've been trying to get through it for a while now. Temi and I have both been taking cracks at this book. And then on Temi's side, he has...
Yeah, I am not a nonfiction lover. It takes time for me to get through those books, but I can finish like a 600-page fantasy novel in 2 days. But I have The Age of Ideas, but then I also have the Kindle. We're bringing the Kindle back. I love just how light it is, how I'm able to store literally my whole library in here. Outside of this book, I'm also reading Fourth Wing. When it comes to how we work with one another, especially when it came to filling up this home, I think there was more conceding on my part.
I was going to say the same thing. Temi adores me. So he actually lets me get away with havoc. Yeah. I'm also obsessed with interior design. So he knows that this is my dream is to be able to do this on the side or even for friends and family. So there were definitely design decisions I made that I was like, hey, choose between these two decisions, so that he could feel very involved. But then, the decision had been made. Either way, I'm very, very happy. Now, there have been some things that we've sprinkled into the space that he has loved. You'll see in the office, he has his Akira book set. That was a no-brainer. It's a love of his and something that made sense. But that I was like, wouldn't be my first choice, but it's my man. He wants to do it.
Yeah. But that's like a happy medium.
Absolutely.
That's very striking.
There's
that we both love.
Yeah, exactly. There's pieces in the space that I feel like we were like, yes,
the
easily.
Art,
our art.
But also it's like, you get the furniture, I get the technology.
Absolutely. So that was actually the thing that I said, it doesn't matter. We have a Samsung frame TV, and so that was my only thing. My only thing I was like, okay, I need this
but
for
outside
the house.
Of speakers through the house, Alexa throughout the building, smart house. Literally, we're taking it back to Disney Channel. Security.
Yeah. It's all Temi. I said, you've got it. I trust you with all that. Also, he stays up to date on that. When it comes to when we shoot, Temi takes care of the tech, so I said there should be no difference in our house. Just teach me how to do it. And then when it comes to me, I'm really big on buying tons of books, tons of just like beautiful, striking pieces that when Temi sees them, he's like, what is that? And like, what does it do? And I'm like, that's the point. It doesn't really do anything. It's just like vibes. There are pieces that I think you can tell are a beautiful marriage between what we love, and then pieces that are definitely more reflective of myself versus him. Yeah. But it's really cool to have both because then it balances the space really well. I think that every piece that has ended up in the space has been super intentional. So we have here our beautiful bathroom space, another really minimal, light and airy part of the house. Again, it can get messy very quickly, so we've kept it pretty light. And because it's an apartment, we haven't been able to really deconstruct and reconstruct in the way we'd like to, so we've made it warm where we're able. We have his and hers sinks. We have these beautiful red lush rugs that help warm up the space a little bit, especially because we have these more gray kind of walls and floors. On Temi's side, he has, well, actually we both have it. It's pretty similar, but we have the Tekla towels and the Aesop hand balm and hand wash, which we swear by. And then my favorite portion, and Temi's too, I feel like you love the bathtub. Yeah.
Well, actually, I would say my favorite portion would be the walk-in shower, because it doubles as a steam room. So after a workout, I'll go ahead, call Skylar, get the steam room ready. So as soon as I walk through the door.
Absolutely. And then likewise, when I want to take a bath, I call Temi and say, get the bath running. And then I have this. And so we have this great thrifted tabletop here that we use, you know, if I'm working and I'm in the tub, or if I just want a glass of wine and I want to read. A lot of these pieces are also thrifted as well, and it just feels really homey and vintage. On this side of the area, we also have a dresser. Again, the more the merrier when it comes to storage. So on this side of the room, we also have another opportunity for tons of storage. We have a focal piece by Courtney Heron. It just made sense that this piece would go in the bathroom because it literally is the vibe in here. And then just smaller pieces to keep it really soft and warm. Our Able Room spray, some candles, a beautiful vase that we also have in the kitchen.
We have this, you know,
and then the tech, of course.
Yep, this Bang & Olufsen speaker. Very aesthetically pleasing, easy to carry.
But then it just looks like a piece of like art almost.
And it fills the space like sound-wise beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. You can hear it in the shower, in the steam room, all the things. It's really, really fun. So yeah, this place, I mean, I feel like this part of our home is really light, and because we make an absolute hurricane when we're getting dressed, a tornado of a mess, we keep our bathroom and our bedroom really light and really cute. Doing out there? Come on. We got some more house to see. So this is the vinyl room.
Yes.
This is just like creme de la creme.
Best room in the house.
I mean, damn near. It is just brilliant. And I mean, if we do say so ourselves, we put a lot of thought into this room because we actually wanted it to feel completely different from the other rooms in the house. And I think it does. We have these cobalt blue walls, also from Backdrop.
Art from Fritz
von Erich. Yeah, and I think we actually allowed the art to guide a lot of the decisions we made in this space. We wanted it to feel like you're almost on a funky spaceship listening to like,
you know what it reminds me of? That episode of Love, Death and Robots.
Absolutely.
Zima Blue, I think.
Absolutely. It's just like so lush. All the colors are rich. And so we wanted to bring in a lot of reds, greens, blues, a lot of primary colors to make this feel like a visually pleasing space.
Yep.
So we have in this section a good mix. The entire room really is a good mix of both music and books because we have tons of books both here and in our office and in our content room.
Yeah, when we travel, we love to collect different countries' jazz. So we have a lot of different kind of jazz vinyls here, a lot of Japanese jazz vinyls. One of my favorite things is the now spinning sign, courtesy of Skylar.
Absolutely. We got that off Etsy. Right now we have playing Grover Washington Jr. I'm a big Motown jazz fan. I just love jazz, and we usually start our day with jazz. Beyond Robert Glasper playing downstairs, we'll often have something playing up here for a vibe. And also during parties, if people want to deck away, this is a really fun room to come to. We have our Crossley player. It does the job. We do want to upgrade at a certain point, but we've had this for a while now, and it's just so beautiful that we've not wanted to get rid of it. And then we also have, again, records that we've collected over time from friends, from travels, and then books, of course, reflective of our travels as well.
We have 2 pseudo libraries. This is one of them.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask, why do we put the backs of the book facing the wall? And honestly,
It's just a vibe. Yeah. It's just because it looks good. There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
We've read the books that are backwards, so that does help because we are not looking for them. Don't fret. But also, it's just fun. We didn't want the colors to be too overwhelming when people came into the space. So we've actually kept a lot of our Black authors facing, frontwards facing, and then a lot of the books that we've read from fiction books backwards facing. And it's just cool to add a little flavor in that way.
I'll leave you all with a recommendation. If you haven't read this as a youth,
one of Temi's favorite books.
go ahead and lock in. The Kite Runner is one of the ones.
Well, when we moved in, I feel like we saw this room and we knew that it was likely going to be, it was being posed as an office. It was also mentioned to us, oh, it could be a great place for a child.
Yeah.
And we were like, not yet. So we wanted somewhere that had a piece of our personality. And the two things that we love the most is reading and listening to music.
Yeah.
And often when we read, we listen to music. So we wanted a place that felt like a vibe, almost like a little, almost like an event space in a way.
We had so many vinyls and it was constantly growing, but we had nowhere really to put them outside of underneath the media cabinet you saw downstairs, and it just didn't feel right.
No, yeah, it was almost limiting them. So we were like, let's give the vinyls a place to play and to kind of spread out. This is also somewhere that we come to just like ideate, to get a lot of creative inspiration. We get so much inspiration from the books we read and from the music we listen to, and also from the magazines we read. We were able to add these gorgeous acrylic orange magazine racks with just beautiful pieces. I mean, we have a Japanese magazine that we got while we were there in Tokyo.
We got this one from Japan too.
Absolutely, for Jean-Michel Basquiat, made in Japan. Focus magazine, which is a Black-owned magazine, as well as Curves. And I mean, speaking of Curves, this gorgeous Sean Brown, Curves by Sean Brown rug that literally reflects the space and also tied into Fritz von Erich pieces. So much of the pieces in this space are also
having
in conversation.
conversations.
Yeah, with each other. Yeah, we're locked in. We know the things. We know the things. And then of course a display had to happen with our vinyls. We wanted people to be able to come in and see some of our favorites. And so we've got The Roots. No brainer. Nas, like Jungle. There's just like, we want to also show off our taste in music in a fun way.
We need to add some more so people can really see.
Well, we often swap them out, so that helps like keep it fresh, and it's really depending on how we feel that month, and we'll switch up the wall. Yeah. And it also is like art in and of itself on the wall, because I feel like artists put so much love into the vinyl covers that they create that we wanted them to be out as well.
So creation looks very different for both of us in our journey to get there. We've both been creating in different ways. I used to DJ, Sky used to own a clothing company.
Yes, wow, we've come so far.
So far.
Blast from the past.
After school, I started working at Microsoft.
Yep, I started working at BuzzFeed.
Yeah, the 9 to 5 really put my creative blinders on, to where I wasn't seeing creativity as much.
Whereas I would say, because I was at Parsons for school, I was always kind of had a foot in the creative world. So when we met, I remember going, I remember he told me he was really big into photography, or you just picked up a camera.
Literally had just picked up a camera.
He just picked up a camera, and I remember just wanting to bring that energy out of him, because I think it's such a great balance to have both a corporate and creative side, because you get a little bit of a mix of both.
Best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
And it was crazy because when we started content creation together, we didn't even mean to do that. I booked a trip for Puerto Rico for her birthday.
And I told him, hey, I know I'm a part of this world of social media and content creation, and you signed up for me, not this, so you don't have to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I was cool, I'm cool to just take some pics right now.
Yeah, and I said, but if you want to take some pictures of me, that's cute. I love that. It was heaven sent.
Because photography started off as a hobby.
Absolutely. And I mean, same for content creation. I started it so that, it was really to push into my clothing brand at the time. Not because I really wanted to build a platform for myself, but I think it started to resonate so much with people. You have to kind of listen to your audience and give them what they want. So I leaned into it more.
And the organic growth was the most fun. We were just taking pictures of any and everything. We would go on vacation and
share our experience.
Pictures we would do anyways to send to our parents. We just posted it online, and it just continued to grow and go from there.
And we thought about how can we make our experience accessible to other people who look like us, and that's really what made our content and our platform kind of skyrocket, and it enabled, empowered us really to create an entire platform off of sharing how we see the world with people. And I think that's now evolved into what we do now.
Yeah, because I think we both we both love the world outside of the world we live in.
Yeah, wow, nice.
Yeah, like I've loved TV since I was a kid. I've loved anime. I've loved
we're
fantasy
nerds.
fiction.
We're
We are
nerds,
nerds. Like
yeah.
when it comes to reading, did you have accelerated reader?
Absolutely,
in school?
I was locked
Yeah,
in.
man.
Yeah.
Accelerated reader, Six Flags, Pizza Hut.
I was getting
little
all the the
So,
signatures for
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
We love to read, like get lost in like
In
600,
different worlds,
800
yeah.
page books.
Because we love stories so much,
Yeah.
integrating that into our process was the most important thing. And we also found it differentiated us from other creators and then allowed us a seat at the table with a lot of brands because they were wanting us to come on the conversation, like get in on the conversation and
Yeah.
share our 2 cents as like consultants or creative directors. So it's been really cool to be able to, what we kind of see is taking the mundane or just life and seeing the beauty of it. My Instagram bio is dedicated to the art of living because so much of life should be documented and shown in a beautiful way. And I think our content has been able to do that in a way that resonates with people.
Yeah, I think also the great part about it is it can be very, time consuming to do this.
Yes,
But
we put a lot of effort into what we
again,
do.
2 sides of the same coin. We're so good at what we do at this point, and we're so streamlined that I feel like what could take 5 hours might take 1.5 hours for us.
Yeah.
Which allows us to really, one, live in the moment,
Yep.
but also put the cameras away.
Absolutely. So under this beautiful skylight that we have coming onto the 4th floor, we have this gorgeous piece by Phoenix Palms. We did a collaboration with Etsy, and it was really important for me to pull at least one Black-owned piece. And so Phoenix Palms has a lot of Black pieces that they sell, and this one was just so striking. We were like, no, we absolutely need this. The red is so good on this wall.
Yeah, and almost as striking as the painting itself is this candle from Maison Africanist, Tam Tam.
Yeah, we have a few of their candles in our home.
Smells so good.
Just like really the beautiful minimal design, but then they really smell great. And then this, of course, floating shelf. We wanted there to be pieces that connect each space. And so these do really well of bringing people upstairs and into the final 2 rooms on this tour. So here we have our office space. She's cute.
She's nice.
She's minimal. We knew we wanted it to keep it cute because we just come in here to get stuff done, and we've not actually built it out very much. We have some work to do.
Yeah, we definitely have work to do in here.
Yeah, but we still wanted to show y'all because that's like the real stuff, isn't it? When
Yeah,
you're not
it
finished
is.
moving in.
Yeah, this whole area itself is stunning.
Yeah.
I know that when you sit down, one of the first things you see is this 6-piece Akira set. We got it out in Japan. It's all actually in Japanese.
Yeah, which is really, really dope.
Spoiler alert, if you plan to watch the movie. But yeah, it's all in Japanese. But if you've seen the movie enough times as I have, you already kind of know and have an idea of what you're reading as you go.
And it was more so about like having almost like a collector's item of like the 6 set series was so cool. I don't even think the owner of the bookshop wanted to let it go, or it was almost like a concept space. And he saw how much Temi loved Akira, and he was like, absolutely, take it. So we were able to leave with it. And then we also have just like little pieces that make us happy. This analog clock that Temi got to that is just so beautiful and adds so much cool energy to this little desk space. And then of course our Instax Mini 40, because we're always capturing all the moments. We're always getting the film moments. Absolutely.
Yep. We have our brain bank
by Danye Taylor, a good friend of ours.
Also, we have our Cape Town book and Lagos Daniel Obasi book from our friend Carl Shakur. It was a actual gift for our housewarming. So beautiful. I'm sorry, you all need to see my homeland.
And then we lost the frame for it, but that's life. We're gonna get a new one, but we had to keep it up. This piece by Jeremy Mitchell, another friend of ours, who knows how much we love Japan and gifted us this print of his for our housewarming. So shout out to you, Jeremy. We appreciate you so much. We thrifted this little desk cabinet area from Bedford Galleries, which is right here in Brooklyn, and it's just a great space to get some really great antique pieces. And again, we kept it simple in here because there's so much going on downstairs. We were like, the more you move up, we wanted to keep it light. Finally, which I think I'm so proud of, because in our last apartment we didn't have this, a second bedroom for guests. So this is our guest bedroom. It is a little slice of heaven. We wanted to keep it really warm and minimal and just super cozy.
Yeah, people love it here. People
Absolutely.
really love it here. We'll have friends come over
And they do not want to leave
It'll
this
be
bed.
like 3 p.m. and we're like, oh, hey, where's such and such at?
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
that bed.
So we tend to change the color of the setup based on the season so that people really, really feel at home. We have in this corner another thrifted vintage side table that just adds a lot of warmth to the space. And on top is Black is Beautiful by Kwame Braithwaite. Such a great book. And we wanted to bring up some of our coffee table books from downstairs so they have something to read while they're up here as well. And usually before someone comes up, we make sure the bed is done, the lights are on, we'll light a candle, and then everything in the bathroom is fully stocked. It's literally like staying in a hotel. It's the pride of our life, to be quite honest.
We often encourage people, once you're done, to head out, like fully done. Go ahead and help yourself to anything in the bathroom, and then we try to stock it up every time we're done.
Absolutely. And then we've made sure to keep on the bedside, for the people who didn't make it to our housewarming, our La Dolce Casa custom matches that we got for our housewarming. And on the back, you're able to, every time you visit, mark off one of these little wine bottles so that by the time you get all of them marked off, you get a sweet treat from us. No one has brought it back to us, so they need to get on their Zoom, but we keep it for our guests who stay in here, because if you weren't able to make it to the housewarming, you can still get a little piece of it.
Yeah.
And that is it.
That's it. Thank you so much, y'all, for coming. We appreciate you, and it's time for you to leave.
I'm screaming! For me, home is about somewhere that is just safe and a constant. Growing up, I dealt with a lot of anxiety, and I was surprised when my mom was so eager about me coming up to New York for school, because I was full of anxiety and I figured she'd want me to be up under her. And she was saying, no, we've created a home for you to always come back to, somewhere that is going to be consistent, that you can find solace in, and that will always be there. And I think as we've built our home, that's what I've wanted to create for us, is somewhere that we can return to and feel immediately safe in, where we can kind of like strip back the layers and get really comfortable and feel so deeply at home within ourselves in this space. So I feel like that is what home is to me.
Yeah, for me, home is really a refuge.
Yeah, right.
It's a place where I can continue to grow. I can truly be my 100% authentic self. And then the people that I bring into my home are the people that I can be 100% my authentic self with. Mm-hmm. It's just really my safe space. It's my, space for me to experiment, whether it's with foods, styles, literature. It's a place where, I can really lay myself bare and evolve into the person that I want to be.
Yeah, and I think that we've kind of taken those two definitions of home and brought them together in a way that makes all the sense, so that anyone who steps in here is like, wow, this feels like really, really good.
This feels like my home. Mm-hmm. Our Homeworthy, it's been fun, but we got to get going.
Absolutely. See ya.
Stay safe.
Hey, Homeworthy. Hi, I'm John Demsey. Welcome to Behind the Blue Door. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm John Demsey. I am a cosmetic industry advisor and executive. We are here in New York City in my townhouse in Treadwell Farms. Welcome to Behind the Blue Door. Behind the Blue Door actually is the name of my book, which I published about 16 months ago with Azuline Press, which is a photographic series of my collecting, design, and artistic ethos. And the book, basically a peek behind the actual blue door in front of my house, which is a blue lacquered door, the way I think, the things that inspire me, the things that I love, began as a complete gut reno. And when we started doing the house and working with my dear friend Bibi Monahan, my interior designer, and Joseph Carnaccia, my architect, we wanted to try to reestablish some of the grandeur of the early 1900s of the house. And in trying to figure out what the house should look like, we decided to start from the ground up and start with the carpets. These are stark carpets in the designs of David Hicks. And my friend, the muse of John Galliano at Dior, Suzanne von Aschinger, who was a model, was wearing these kick-ass Christian Louboutin boots, which were in electric cobalt blue, gold, red, mustard yellow, and navy. And I thought, give me your shoes. I took the boots, took them to the carpet maker, and we began the color palette of the house off of the Louboutin boots. So literally, we stepped into it from fashion. So here we are, we're on the second floor behind the blue door, and let me show you around, actually. So you'll see the room is centered on this carpet, which is a David Hicks carpet inspired by those Christian Louboutin boots of my friend Suzanne, of all the color palettes of the house. And it's anchored with this sweeping Willie Rizzo couch that was in my parents' apartment back in the 70s, used to be brown pig suede, in crushed blue velvet. And so this sort of sweeping blue room, which is basically set up as where I generally have events or parties or things, or after dinner parties and such. And there are so many things. You'll see on this wall, a wall of black and white photography with, paparazzi, fashion, glam shots. So there's Cher by wearing Bob Mackie. That's Bette Midler and Mick Jagger. That's the Holy Trinity of the supermodels shot by the late Roxanne Lowitt, Catherine Deneuve, Ellen von Unworth, the black and white ball with Mia Farrow and Frank Sinatra, Bianca Jagger on a horse at Studio 54, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, Kim Kardashian, Alfred Hitchcock, on and on and on and on and on. If we go around here, there are a pair of hands by Frederberg from Mexico City, which I personally love. This is a Willie Rizzo bureau. On top of it, you see this is Marcel Wander's Baccarat, Vanini, Antiquities, Murano glass, Dome, and Hervé van der Straten lamp. This wall is all color photography as opposed to the other wall. This is all black and white. Once again, with lots of celebrities. There's Pam Anderson, and there's Gloria Vanderbilt, and there's Lizzo, along with photographs by Miles Aldridge and Horst. And this chair I found at the curated shop in Los Angeles called Just One Eye. And it's an artistic piece. I don't know actually who the artist is who did it. I think it was a series of like 4 or 5. But I think it's pretty cool, actually. The Dakota's coffee table, you have a mix of a lot of fun stuff. So this lion or panther head was on the desk of Brad Gray when he was the head of Paramount Pictures. And this hippopotamus I found in the Pousse in Paris. This is all this Dutch sort of pottery and ceramics from a place called Wouterhouse. If we look up, actually, that is the Philippe Starck Baccarat chandelier with blue denim shades. At this point here, that is a Georges Chevalier Baccarat starburst mirror on top of a mirror, surrounded by 2 vintage turquoise foo dogs, coupled with 2 vintage navy blue pugs. And I'm lucky to have a fireplace on the first floor and on the second floor. And I love the focal point of this fireplace, in which you have a good friend of mine is an artist named Hugh Finlanter, who's known as Mr. Flowerheads. And he's a Jamaican-American man who lives in Milan, who works in Murano and creates these incredible, fantastical creatures and heads. So this is for Mr. Flowerheads, 2 fish from him, because after all, I'm a Pisces. We go on, and then we have all up on the surrounding sound here. All these are pinups from David Bailey from the 1960s, and these amazing Ruan Hoffman plates. And we come into the atrium area here, which is really a continuation of the jungle theme. You have this de Gournay custom screen. You have more animals, Hervé van der Straten coffee table, lots of birds, because we're in an atrium, and peacocks, all an homage from this Ren Hong photograph, which was an iconic photograph from a Chinese activist, and which is banned to be seen actually in China. But this photograph, particularly I went to Germany to go pick it up, but this photograph with the peacock actually carries into the idea of these birds and creatures. So you have, peacock here, peacock there, a toucan, more Murano, lots of books, objets, monkeys, photographs of myself. That is a photograph in this room in front of the bar. It's all done with Polaroids being mashed up. So it's done by Gilles Descamps, who's a photographer, a well-known photographer. And this is one of my favorite things. This is the Sostas Memphis totem from the mid-'80s, which is rare. And you even can see like this theme of family or jungle. That this pillow of this leopard was needle pointed by my late grandmother. So, having something always from the family, or something from the past, or something from the present, constantly changing. In the adjacent room is my red library, which is all red, orange, and curated with everything framed in gold frames and saturated color. So it's inspired by the nightclubs of Robin Burley in London. Actually, the greatest compliment I've ever been given was that my home looks like a club in London, because that's what I was aiming for. But you have, once again, a mashup of mid-century modern, new 21st century pieces, family heirlooms, objets, architectural pieces, touches of Memphis, Sostas, and of things of entertaining and at ease. So this is my red room library, and it's set up like a cabinet de curiosité. So we actually curated and arranged all these objects like an old cabinet of curiosities. And it's grounded once again in this David Hicks amazing rug with these shades of red and this Hermes covered Christian Liègre orange couch. And here you have Guy de Rougemont cloud tables, Eric Schmidt custom chairs, and photographs that are a little bit more surrealist, a little more pop. You have a couple black and whites here. This is a photograph of Andy Warhol by my friend Jonathan Becker. That's Cyndi Lauper. That's Elsa Martinelli by Willie Rizzo with the Italian flag on her lids. This monkey here actually was in my mother's living room growing up. So this monkey's actually gone everywhere with me. We have here more Memphis, more Vanini, more sculpture. That's the original artwork of Diana Ross on the cover of Interview magazine, Salvador Dali, animals, objects everywhere. And these photographs here are done by an artist named Breakawaith, who is an artist who created the movement of Black is Beautiful. You'll see his images as well. Books, and more books. We have another fireplace, actually. I have 3 fireplaces. And the peacock from the atrium shows up in the hearth of the room. There's a surrealist photograph that looks of Marilyn Monroe. You have another hue, owl, stallions, robots, Fornasetti, LV collaborations. My mother's Minaudier from Judith Lieber. Red is good luck. So I believe, and you'll see around the house, that every room has a piece of red in it, or touch of red. So it's good luck. And it's dramatic, and things look great with it. Not, actually on this chair, this is a needlepoint of one of my mother's paintings. So that's, and this as well. So, family inspiration is everywhere. We come here to this Italian desk in this sort of iridescent sort of blue, more objects, a lot of them unique pieces of work. This here is a Gioponte painting, actually an original work, which I think great. This lucite chair that was done by Jeffrey Bradfield. This is a Jouet owl. This is just a fabulous chair, and you'll see that these drapes and everything, all the wall coverings go together. Or on this wall, this is a photo painting by a woman I know named Laurence in Paris of Diana Vreeland. This is done by Stephen Klein. This is Nicki Minaj as a blue Marilyn Monroe. And over the door into the powder room, that is a shot of a Chinese model for the cover of China Vogue, shot by Stephen Klein as the Chinese Marilyn, and which I think is super fun. And you've got Liz Taylor, Bert Stern, Donatella Versace, done by Miles Aldridge. That's Mario Testino. And then this is fun. This is a powder room. And in this powder room, which has sort of some personal touches as well, you'll see here that chandelier was the chandelier in the house that I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. So I brought it here. It's an Orfor. And on the wall here are all these fun illustrations by my friend Donald Robertson. And they're things that were my Christmas card or things that reflect moments in my life, with this fabulous mirror. And even walking in, there is a painting of my mom, and a Carl Springer bench, and more vases and more things, and a vintage hourglass mirror. And if you look at some of the expressions of some of these things, they have certain things. This was hell decor, with spending all my money on the house. That's a picture of me when I was working at Mac, and this is my Christmas card, and Lady Gaga was the Viva Glam spokesperson, so a fantastical vision of my daughter, Marie Helene, myself, and Lady Gaga. I don't know, it's just fun stuff. Another door, because behind every door there's something unique and different. These were all illustrations of the Met Ball that were done by Donald. This was the punk year. So you see, Anna Wintour with a mullet, Albert Ebaz, and so on and so forth. That's the guest powder room. I have an extensive collection of many, many, many different things, but the one thing that I have been most passionate about since, honestly, my early 20s is style, fashion, and beauty photography. It sort of sits within the world of my chosen profession. And around the house, we have over 800 images on the wall from some of the greatest fashion image creators and cultural iconic subjects that have sort of circled in and out of my world or my childhood aspirations of being part of. It's inspired by glamour, bold, big personalities, and legends who have been here, are here, or maybe are not with us any longer. And I love the idea that all these legendary style icons sit or face each other on my wall, having a conversation with each other. And that's sort of my mantra of how things sort of fit together and work together. Impossible mashups or conversations between people or eras that weren't necessarily at the same time, but very much had a core philosophy that ties it all together. So now we're heading up to the third floor, which is my floor, where I live and work. You'll see more gallery-style artwork, Guy Bourdin, Lindsay Lohan, and one of my favorite little nooks and crooks in the house is another guest bathroom. This is the Dita Von Teese bathroom. So if you come in here, this is a wallpaper designed by my friend Donald Robertson of Dita Von Teese, and sexy sort of Greta Garbo legs and just I don't know, a lot of whimsy and fun and sort of a conversation piece, because it seems everything here starts a conversation. And if we go up the stairs here, there's some things here that are important that I point out. This is the photograph of Suzanne von Echinger, the person whose Christian Louboutin boots inspired the color theme of the house. My bedroom, all glam. The Isabelle Giroust eye mirror, which is over the bed. The cabinetry are all red lacquer. You have a portrait of me as a monkey in a Tom Brown suit, done by an artist named Marc Gagnon. There's the Orlitsky gorilla. And then this great Colombo chair and lots of imagery of lips, eyes, the royal family, sort of a mashup. We even did a cabinet of curiosities where the TV set are with this fabulous leopard that was a gift to me from my friend Aaron, and more monkeys and more vases and more things. And as you can see up here, another Mr. Flowerheads. The bolster of the bed in this sort of animal print, giraffe actually, which corresponds to the fashion photograph by Willa Rizzo of Giraffe in the 70s. The lamp over here is Guy de Rougemont. And these are Polar Crespi, this lamp and these cloud side tables. And then going into, I guess, my ultimate indulgence is the closet, which is packed, and it's all organized by color. And this is fall, spring's in the basement, and we flip it. But you can see, and portraits of me, people that have designed clothing for me. I'm obsessed with eyeglasses and fragrance. In my former life, I actually helped to build and create the Tom Ford beauty brand. And now I work with many companies and have had the good fortune to discover amazing products like this Dries Van Noten Soie Malike. That's one of the people I work with. It took me years to figure out actually how I wanted to look and how I wanted to dress. I think when you're young, you should try and do whatever you want to do. I mean, there's so many stages of our life. So, I was a club kid in my earlier years. I was fashion obsessed. But I think over time, find the things that you feel comfortable in, that you think reflect your own personal aesthetic and style, and stick with it. Actually, this just arrived. This is a custom Zegna safari jacket. I'm really fond of safari jackets, so this just arrived. I love that. But, a Berluti leather jacket, a Loro Piana blazer. I mean, I love biker jackets. And by the way, there's some more animals hopping around here as well. So it's the jungle theme continues. In the office is an homage to Paris and the time that was sort of probably the most influential period of my life when I really discovered what I loved about style and fashion and my own personal style. And the office is centered around a map of Paris on one wall and photographs from great French photographers and iconography from Paris. Once again with Ruin Hoffman plates but this time all in French with French obscenities. Every room has an attitude. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It has a sense of humor. It's maximalist in its execution, but almost feng shui and minimalist in terms of its core essence and idea. And that's sort of my left side, right side way that I think. Then in this hallway here, once again, more photography. It's a photograph of myself when I was 21 years old by Joseph Karsh. This was the cover of Women's Wear Daily Beauty Biz. Did a profile on me years ago. I love this piece by the Carpenter brothers. Hell is empty and all the devils are here. Sort of a mantra to live by. David Watts, a monkey, of course. We enter into my very messy office, and Murano chandelier from the 60s, and the wall covered with a map of Paris. And it used to be very minimalist. There was nothing on it, and it, like everything, I just started filling it up. And this is a photograph of Picasso by Julien Clerc. There is the office of Diana Vreeland. This is a piece of original art by my friend Donald Robertson of an Hermes gas station in Texas. On this wall here, this is a Guy de Rougemont lighting fixture. You have here Niki de Saint-Phal, that's Brigitte Bardot, François Hardy, who was the ultimate iconic French rocker chick. And one thing I didn't point out in every room, there's a portrait of the room done by an artist named Jane Black. So this is her portrait of my office, but every room has a picture of itself by another artist. This is my desk, this is my files, these are my papers. This is where I have to multitask and do lots of things. And it's more eclectic, and the thing in my life that inspired me the most was living in Paris and being in Europe. So this room captures that. It's a tiny room. This is a portrait of Isabel Toledo, who passed away a few years ago, and Ruben did this for me with Isabel, and he did this sort of as a Dada-esque sort of photograph, so that was a personal gift. I have family things. I mean, there is a sentimentality to me. It's not all just, glam. This is my daughter, and this is a frame that a friend of mine gave me, and it says Liebling, which is her nickname for me in German, which means darling, and that's my daughter. My dad passed away, nearly 3 years ago, and that's the remembrance of him. So I just keep it next to me. Well, the structure of the house is thematic, and there are definite moods and personas and touch points of each floor, and color waves. As you enter into the first floor, which is basically welcome to the jungle. It is a floor encompassing, the kitchen, which has sort of a high glam impact and a collection of every calendar Fornasetti plate that was ever done, working into a dining room and a sun room with leopard carpets, cheetah prints, and all sorts of a menagerie of jungle cats and wild animals in crystal, ceramic, silver, gold, dome, lalique, baccarat. So it's that sort of mashup of all these sort of wild creatures. So that's the floor that begins entering into the house and setting the tone for what you're going to see. This is the first floor, and this is the entry hall, and you can see photography is everywhere. This is a Horst photograph, Dufy, Guy Bourdon, and here's Giselle Bundchen, Marilyn Minter, and Dua Lipa entering us into the house on a leopard carpet ride with a photograph of me, vintage 1998. And we come into this room, which is my dining room. No, these things are not on the table when we're eating here. But this is sort of a an animal menagerie of just great collectible things, all with sort of some provenance or interesting backstory in terms of the artists or who did them. I'm attracted to animals and life. This is a rhinoceros that was done by Willie Rizzo in Paris, which I'm particularly fond of. This Hervé van der Straten lighting fixture, and on this credenza that was done by Patrick Nagar, you have this graphic Rankin eye, a Roe Etheridge photograph here, Guy Bourdon, and this cat is from Studio Jobs. More gorillas, lots of gorillas. This is a photograph that was done by my good friends Inez and Vanud. Cabinets filled with family memories and objects and ceramics and plates that go back a long time. And here, the main floor, dining room fireplace, this pop sort of blue electric Hervé van der Straten mirror, surrounded by whimsical Ruben Hoffman plates, like Shit Getting Out of Hand and Bad Idea and Bye. And so with a pug and a monkey and an owl and a tiger and a mythical beast. So it's eclectic. This is a Vincent Daré chair in blue, of course. Fornasetti pillows. My original interior designer, B.B. Monahan, helped me put all this together, and I invite into the house about 2 times a year this amazing stylist who styled my book named Mieke ten Have. And what we do is we move everything around. So we move objects, we reorient things. Sometimes I got too much stuff since she was last here, so we need to simplify it down. And then I also bring my art curator, Heather McKenna Pardo, in, and we rehang a lot of the art. So, because you see it differently when it's in a different context. And then this room here, which you can see the backyard actually out here. And there's a lion, of course, outside, but normally in season, this is a beautiful sort of garden setup. But once again, mythical beasts, whether it's a bull. This is a Fornasetti table. This is an artist that we found in South Africa during the pandemic that I bought the work sight unseen. And it arrived and it's way bigger than I thought it was. These 2 chairs here were the Eames chairs that sat in my father's mid-century office in Cleveland, and I made them yellow. This one thing, which I didn't realize, when you look at the front door, you see that door knocker? That was the door knocker on the house that I lived in since I was 2 years old. So I took that when my father passed away almost 3 years ago. When we sold the house, I took the door knocker and realized that somehow that door knocker had a pug. And I never had a pug or thought of a pug, yet it was there. So things seemed like they were haphazard, but everything actually arrived with some rhyme or reason. So that's interesting. The 4th floor, which is the floor for the ladies in my life, my daughter, MH, who is 16 years old, has her bedroom, and you have also 2 guest suites where you discover the colors of pink, green, and yellow, and you're exposed to the paintings of my mother, Renee Demsey, who is a painter who has been doing decorative arts for over 60 years and shows her work at Bergdorf Goodman. So it is a very personal floor. It's a more feminine floor. It's a floor that's created for the ladies and all those who come to visit, because I have a lot of family members who come to visit. So here we are on the 4th floor. This is a giant Miles Aldridge telephone call photograph, which I love. And these are Tim Walker's pastel pussycats and Sylvie Blum's sort of fashion photographs, Hans Slonim. And, more fantastical rabbits. If we go into here, in the guest suites, these gates are here because this is a tour in real life, not a fictitious, this is not a staged, this was not staged. This is actually in real life. And here's one room. And as you can see here, these are my mom's paintings. And they're super colorful. She had a huge influence on my life, still does. And you'll see this lighting fixture that comes from Paris is the smaller version of the one that's actually in the Red Library. The wedding photograph of my mom when she got married many, many, many years ago. But once again, a family-inspired room. For me, home is my center. It's my place where I can be myself, have my own space, express myself however I feel like expressing it, relax, be inspired, be stimulated, and at the same time create an environment that allows me to think and envision of the future and things that I can push the boundaries on in my personal life. It's my project that never ends, because it never ends. Things are coming in and out of here all the time. I rehang the walls 2 to 3 times a year. I reorient and restyle a lot of the objects and things in the house to shake it up and to give other things an opportunity to come forward and be seen. One of the things is when you come here, I think you get the big idea, but the details matter a lot. And sometimes the tension is the big idea and actually paying homage to the individual pieces.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Marcus. Welcome to my New York City apartment.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hello, I'm Marcus Teo. Welcome to my home. We're here in the Gramercy area in New York City. I was born in Malaysia, and I went to English boarding school first in Singapore, and I also had spent my formative years growing up between Singapore and London, where I had family. And London was a fantastic space for a child to kind of hone my design eye, because I lived with my family who actually had an amazing townhouse up in northern London, and they had a fantastic collection of Bauhaus furniture, temperature controlled, and I've basically kind of been surrounded by a cross between Bauhaus as well as tropical modernism in Kuala Lumpur. So growing up in all that before deciding to come to New York, to NYU, to study film and journalism. I was looking around, I was moving from a sort of cookie cutter 1960s building, and it's always been my dream to live in a floor through of a townhouse. And it was a long search before I found this particular building, and I found this incredible townhouse that was built somewhere at the turn of the century. And it's been renovated a few times, but there's still amazing touches of the past. To be honest, the one thing that sold the place to me are the high ceilings. I've always wanted a high ceiling apartment, and that's a one apartment requirement that I've not been able to have, that actually has eluded me until finding this place about 8 years ago. The space of it is fantastic because it does feel like a modern loft, even though it's in a traditional townhouse. The spaciousness of it also gave me enough room to kind of create these vignettes that's in my mind, and the collection I've done and collected through the years of photography, of painting, of design objects, and of furniture. I don't think I'm an accidental tourist in the publishing field, but in some ways, I hadn't really completely wanted to delve into publishing, but somewhat or other, I do feel like publishing has adopted me, and starting from W Magazine, I've worked as a contributing editor through the Condé Nast and the Hearst magazine families. I've managed to work after leaving W full-time, stayed on as a contributing editor there. I also worked with Vogue magazine as a contributing sittings editor, working on their portraits. I've worked with GQ, I've worked with Esquire, I've worked with Arena, and focused on telling fashion stories. Welcome to my living room. As you can see, it's one large space, but it kind of contains all these little worlds that I've accumulated throughout the years. The first stop is naturally the entryway. This is what I kind of call my mid-century entry area. Right here, it's kind of defined by this credenza, which I've had for about, at this point, 18 years. It's traveled with me everywhere, and it's functioned as a office storage unit, but at this point, it stores cutlery and dining and linens and all of that. So I do call this my mid-century area also because when I was working at George Jensen, I had the luck and joy of working with incredible designers and artists. One of my favorite pieces is this particular water jug that's designed by designer Aldo Barker for Salone of 2012 for George Jensen. It's a water jug. Put it in water and fill it over there. I mean, the sinuous features are just terrific. One of my favorite pieces, again, from George Jensen is the Henning Koppel vase and jug. I mean, the Henning Koppel jug can also be used as a vase. The entryway also has my favorite designer, Viennese secessionist Joseph Hoffman's chair. And this is basically ties the entire room together. Of course, the centerpiece is the gorgeous Takia lamp, one of my favorite design pieces in the world. So next stop is the lounge area. Much time is spent here. It feels a little bit more traditional, if you will, with the Flemish tapestry that kind of is the centerpiece, and this great day bed, which basically I spend most of my time here. That's where I eat dinner in the Eileen Gray table and watch TV. I do like to offset what is classical with something that's a little bit more modern. So with the traditional touches there, I'd like to throw in this Gerrit Rietveld chair. And it kind of creates a little bit more of a mix of something heritage and something new. Over here is a collection of portraiture through the years. One of my favorite things in photography is portrait photography. Every time I look at this wall, it creates quite a feeling of looking into different worlds and different cultures and different expressions. So some of this are works that I've worked from photographers I've worked with. Right at the top there in the Alexander McQueen ballet-inspired outfit is Carly Kloss, one of her very first photo shoots done by David Sliper for W Magazine. To the right of that is Bruna, shot by amazing photographer Blair Getz-Mezeboff, who now shoots for Vogue. One of my favorite portraits, Roger Moore. To the left of that is, the far left of that is Barry White, shot by Christian Witzkin. To the right of that is a portrait done for a W Magazine cover by Karl Lagerfeld. Right over here is Kate Moss, done by Corinne. Because this is a lounge area and I do spend many nights here eating, watching TV, I have the TV here set up on the easel like it's a piece of art. And because much of what I do is not always just hinge back in vintage and heritage work. I do love digital artwork and I love what's going on in the AI world. So I do have the TV set up here, and this is very much where I have also been keeping up with anything from classic movies to YouTube documentaries about what's going on in the technology and AI field. I do like, again, to mix the worlds, what's heritage and what's classic and what's developing and what's new. Now here we are onto the next room. The entertaining space is the living room area. Here I have always loved a good old Chesterfield couch. Maybe it's the colonial English upbringing. Chesterfield always has that solid sense of a men's club. And that's where I start. One of my favorite pieces that I've spent a lot of time searching and researching is Edgar Brandt. He's one of my favorite designers. And Edgar Brandt created the snake lamp back in, I think it was 1918. Don't quote me, I might be wrong about that, but it was an early Art Nouveau masterpiece. It took quite a while to find the snake lamp. And it's funny, a lot of people who come here notice, they're like, are you into snakes? Because they have these sculpture. This is an African sculpture that I picked up in Austin. It does remind me of a snake. And then in this Ilse Crawford bowl for George Jensen, which I love, is, again, a classic snake toy. Yeah, I haven't really thought about why that, but here we go. It was a bit of an odyssey in terms of figuring out what I wanted to do professionally. I came to New York with the pursuit of being a film director, a writer, and an actor. Of course, first I had picked journalism as a major because having Asian parents telling them that I was going to study film was a catastrophe that doesn't go very well. So I told them I was going to NYU to study journalism. This after actually they had expected me to follow the much more professional path of becoming a lawyer, going to England and study law like most good Asian boys do. I decided to change that path, coming to New York. To appease them, I picked journalism as a major, and they were fine with that. And once I got here, I picked up film as another major. I found my groove in publishing. So based on my journalism education, I started writing stories just to pay the bills for magazines in Singapore, magazines in Italy. Through friends, I've gotten connections, and I was able to write fun stories about what happens in New York City. And basically, I went out every night, covered the nightlife in New York City, and wrote about it the next day, and sent it off to magazines all around the world. And that kind of gave me an in into more of a journalistic streak rather than film. And somewhat that continued until I started pounding the doors in fashion magazines. And the fashion magazine career started from there. On the Chesterfield sofa is a melting pot of, again, different cultures. What I do love here is there's a little bit of a Western, Native American influence in this end of it with the print. Over there, it's a little bit more Art Deco with the texture on the satin pillow and the red velvet. Over here is what I do love is minimalism, because we work so much with photography and narrative and storytelling that I sometimes need a little bit of a refresh. And minimalism in art is my kind of reset. Over here is Malevich's famous circle painting. This brings us to one of my favorite and most prized items. It's something I've saved up for many years and looked high and low for it. Obviously, I had mentioned Bauhaus is a big influence, and when I was working in London for an amazing, I guess, fashion entrepreneur, Joseph Etegui, I had learned quite a lot about fashion and design from him. He also has an amazing eye. Back then, one of his favorite designers, Eileen Gray, had all these incredible pieces that he mixed into his store. And the Eileen Gray lacquer framed screen is a design icon from the Bauhaus days. And I don't know the exact year where it was designed, but it's something I've been looking for a while. So when I managed to find the one that was available for auction, I jumped on it and am now a proud owner of it. So it's one of my favorite pieces of all time, because it's ultimately modern and vintage, and also has a bit of the Japanese, Asian lacquer influence to it. So it really is a combination of what I love in design. These Le Corbusier chairs were chairs that I grew up with at my cousin's house in London. And then I have been surfing since 1990, way back in the day. I used to go to Hawaii about 4 or 5 times to surf, and also ditch planes in Montauk. When I first saw that Hayden Shapes, which is an amazing surfboard company, created these marble surfboards, I was like, this is incredible. Again, it's a mix of my favorite things, marble and a surfboard. And it's also so sculptural. And over here is a Chinese teak table, which holds one of my morning rituals. What I love to do here is to light incense every morning. My favorite scent is the Astier de Valette Ulaanbaatar, which has, I think, notes of Indonesia to it. And what I do here every morning is do a little bit of blessings and meditation. I love this incense holder that was created by Cinnamon Projects and Apparatus, and that's my morning ritual. Over here, you'll see quite an extensive collection of books that cover photography, gardening, house, homes, kitchen, food, practically everything that I'm into that I've collected through the years. It basically was in a much larger library, and when I brought it over here, I just realized like I wanted all the books to really fill up the space, and that's where it sits. But this also contains quite a lot of reference material that I use for my work when I do creative direction, when I create mood boards. It's kind of better than Google, right? And to get to a book, I do love a traditional old book ladder that I can climb up to get to the top of it. Let's see. Voila, a book on dining design. That was a project I was working on. And the idea of just living and dining with books, something I do love. So this is a Prouvé dining table, and the Prouvé dining table where we have lots of great company come by and share stories. Home is sharing. My favorite dining chairs are the Joseph Hoffman chairs, which I, again, have waited long and hard and finally found them, and I'm super, super excited that they are part of the dining area. So my favorite thing to serve, and actually I'm going to serve that tonight to friends who are coming, so I'm actually in the process of preparing it. My favorite dish at my dinner party is the Peking duck, because Peking duck is also an activity because you have to roll the pancake and put in the sauce and then roll it up. So I do love serving a Peking duck. In terms of the design world, as you can see, this particular Joseph Hoffman chair has been used at Michael Chow's restaurants, Mr. Chow, who is one of my design icons. Mr. Chow had these Joseph Hoffman chairs at the Mr. Chow restaurant in London back in the day, and also in New York and in LA. And it's just incredible how he had been able to pull in all the best design elements, including that and the Christoffel silver, and serve like really hearty Chinese food in these design icons. And to me, that really is a combination of living well with design. And I think this reminds me of eating at Mr. Chow when I have my Peking duck parties. One of my, I guess, requirements when I was looking for the next apartment was a classic fireplace. Unfortunately, this one doesn't work, but it does have the marble fireplace that I had coveted for a very, very long time. Of course, with the fireplace as a mantle, you get a chance of displaying. Some of my favorite pieces are up here. As I said, I kind of like mixing contemporary with the old, and here we have the Martin Margiela Russian doll pieces, and in all white, it just kind of like, again, open to interpretation. Over there is a Daniel Arsham moon. It actually is a scented candle, if you will. Over here is, I'm a big fan of brutalist sculpture, and this is David Umemoto, who is an incredible sculpture artist who does, who's taken brutalist influence and created these incredible little pieces. This, one thing I like about sculpture is making it functional. This actually can work as a cookie jar or a vase. Above the fireplace is a piece of art that I did myself. It's a minimalist painting of a white square. And again, I think from my work, working in photography and narrative and film and looking at so many images, I always like to do a reset and my own personal favorite artwork has always been minimalist artwork, and I kind of painted this while I was in a space where I was just getting overwhelmed by a lot of imagery, and I sat down and I painted this particular piece, and this basically has set off a hobby, if you will, in painting. I do intend to continue painting after this, so let's see when the next one is. My fondness for marble, obviously the marble mantle, also extends, because I do love, again, a mix of like this much symmetrical line into this marble bust here, which is an amazing find from a friend. He is so French in its way. It's wig, and it's incredible how the work of it is. Now, this looks completely classical, but I think it actually came from a hair salon down in Soho, if I remember the provenance of it. As you can see, I do love marble quite a bit, but people always think that marble is a little bit cold and you can carve it in so many ways, but I also love to offset design with nature. And one way to bring in nature is through floral design and greenery. I am very classical in terms of what I love about flowers, but I'm always much more drawn to bushes and branches and just a big arrangement of greenery. Here we have, actually it's floral design done by a good friend of mine, Seth Johnson, and he basically has taken olive branches and created a bouquet. It's always good to have floral designers as friends because they always come in with like the really good arrangements. We are going to go through my corridor of selected artworks to get to the next rooms with a little pit stop along the way. Welcome to the well-stocked, tiny little Manhattan kitchen galley, because the most important thing here would be menus. So I do order quite a lot of food. I am actually quite a good chef, if I can boast, but because it's Manhattan, we have access to so many great restaurants, so I end up not cooking much. So the galley kitchen works quite well for me. What I do quite a lot of it is make coffee and make tea, and also sparkling water. But I do love a good collection of teapots, and again, with design, something very traditional in terms of a Chinese blue and white print, or this incredible Scandinavian design teapot from a much more 60s aesthetic. So yeah, tea is one of my favorite things to make. But food, order, dial it in. The conjoining corridor has actually a gallery of some of my favorite collection. So this here is my first piece of important photography that I bought when I finally had a paycheck that can do it. Favorite photographer, Martin Parr, and this is an image from his series on British beach towns. These two kids with melting ice cream is completely evocative of the time and the period, and also a certain joy about summer. This is a Werner Pantone, it's called the Crash, and it's a fruit bowl that he had created for George Jensen back, I think, in the 70s or the early 80s. I also think that is a great piece of sculpture when you frame and hang it up. And we're going to walk into one of my favorite quirkier spots, the bathroom. Come on through. Quite classic, black and white, and I do love this floor of circular tiles because it breaks it up graphically. But my favorite thing, which actually has followed me through 5 apartments now, and I kind of bring them to every apartment I am, is the wall of British royalty. Princess Margaret in a bathtub in the bathroom. I mean, literal, right? This I actually got from the Browns Hotel, Churchill and the Queen. I think that is either at Wimbledon, where Charles, Diana, and behind Diana is David Bowie. It's quite a fun shot. Sisters, Margaret and Elizabeth, Prince Edward, Edward and Wallace for Philip Halsman from the Jump series. And right on top of that is the Banksy series of 10-pound bills with Princess Diana. And I've mixed this fun royalty series with some still lifes. And being a Cancer Leo cusp, the home is really, really important to me. And where I am, and in my space, it seems to transport me every time I look into a corner, look into a photograph, into the incredible experiences I've had, the people I've met. It's a little not too egotistical to say that I've been really lucky and have met incredible people. And I think each of the objects in this room remind me of a time and an experience and a mostly joyous time. Hello again. Welcome to the second space in my apartment. Come on through. This is the bedroom and the home study. Of course, during the pandemic, it was really important for me to create kind of an office within the space. And I was figuring out how to do it, and I created these screens, which actually has an incredible texture to it, which sometimes I was like, could I be looking at screens all day or staring at my bed all day? But the screens worked out well because of this wood texture, which I do love. Over here is the home study. Part of what I loved was the second fireplace in the apartment. And again, an assembly of little objects on the mantle. One thing I do love, which started a collection, is these thorny objects. Obviously, the the sawtooth whale. And this is where all the work and creative direction and bill paying happens in my office. On this side is where I do quite a bit of reading. Another piece of Bauhaus furniture, and this armchair has followed me for, I think, the last 25 years. This was bought way, way, way back in the beginning of my collection. This is where I do my reading. Next stop is the bedroom. One of my favorite pieces that I've been coveting for a very, very long time, and it was incredible to find a Hans Wegner valet chair. Took a while to get that. Here it is. Bedroom has incredible light, which wakes me up quite a bit. I always love a little bit of Art Deco element, and I've been looking for a high-backed bed, and it took a while to find this fantastic piece, and has this great curved profile to the bed. And once again, I do feel like Art Deco has had a little bit of influence from Native American design, and that Pendleton blanket has, I think, hints on Art Deco. Over that side of the bed, of the nightstand, you have a little bit more of a classical element. And here, it's a little bit more of an Italian whimsical design moment with Fornasetti plates, which again has followed me through several apartments. This is a little bit more graphic with the Snoopy lamp. And novels I actually read. I do some reading before I go to bed. So, and that is the bedroom. Another area of the room is this dresser. So this mirrored dresser I actually had in the middle of the room before I put up these screens and before I set up the study during the pandemic. It was actually much more of a freer, open area, but I do need the office space. But I found good use for it as a dresser over here, you know, with really crucial elements for a gentleman's wardrobe. Lots of sunglasses. A fan is definitely what we need with global warming happening. So here's a selection that goes with every outfit. I also have 3 favorite images: a Jack Pearson art piece on stars. That is Tokyo Gunasan, who's a dear friend and a great photographer. I did a series of homes and environments of artists, and he was one of the featured artists. That is Pablo Alfaro's photography of the divers in Miami. Behind here, behind that screen, is basically where the fashion magic happens, but we're not going in there today because it's actually quite a mess. There's a lot of clothing going on since I just came back from Hong Kong not so long ago, so the unpacking and a lot of crazy fashion. I like to think of my home as a experience I want to share with those who are closest to me. My home is a place where I like to share. I like to welcome old family and friends, and also new people that I meet to share the experience. I don't think that it's like a, you know, some people think that home is a very private spot. For me, because it's also a combination of experience and life, and I like to be able to share that with friends and family, where I've been, the people I've met. It's a place where I could tell stories. It's a place where friends can gather, have an amazing dinner. And I know everyone has a great dinner party, but I love a dinner party because it's a place and time where you can share stories and meet people.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Vivian, and this is my townhouse in New York. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Vivian Reiss, and I'm an artist. And here we are in my townhome in New York City. I grew up in New York on the Upper West Side, and I went to school, elementary school, between Amsterdam and Columbus on 89th Street. And I'd look across the street and see these old rundown houses and would dream, I wish I could buy one. I wish I could have bought one then, because it would have been a lot less expensive than what one paid in the 2000s. But so it's been my lifelong dream to own a townhouse in New York. I lived in Toronto for many years. I've renovated over 40 houses. And when I decided to come back to New York, my place of my heart, I really wanted a townhouse. So I started to look. There was a carriage house that I loved that was in this neighborhood. And every night I would dream of it, and it kept me going. But as soon as I had the money to do it, it had been sold. So I said, okay, let's get back up on the horse and let's look at houses. And I had walked by this house like the day before I saw it, and I'm like, that's kind of interesting. My son had also looked at listings and said, you should look at this house. And then my agent said, well, we are looking at this house. So when I walked in, it was nothing like it is today. It was a very bizarre house. But it's kind of a philosophy, the worse it is, the better I can make it. And so voila, you're in my home of today. We are in the first room of my townhouse, the foyer. And this is where people enter and are welcome to my home. So I hope that this is a very welcoming space. Right here is a chandelier from Murano. It's from about 1840. And before I was born, they made colors like this, and now I fill the whole world with colors like this. So as we walk around the room, I'll introduce you to some of my art. This is a self-portrait I did. I think it was the last portrait I did in my old house of my garden. I was in the avant-garde of urban farming, and I used to have about 150 different edibles in my garden. It was in the front yard and on the boulevard. So you could say I was in the avant-garde of guerrilla gardening as well. This is a project, this is one portrait I did for a project in Japan, where it was for a huge triennial, but I lived in a tiny village of 150 inhabitants, and I did 18 portraits, and they were shown in a show where millions of people came. I lived in the ex-school teacher's house because there were no children anymore, so they closed the school. My studio was in the schoolroom, in the music room, and slowly but surely I got the village to open up and pose for me for these beautiful portraits. The idea with the project was, it was Satayama, which means man's relation or women's relationship to the land. And I said, well, you know, they used to have kiri, which are storehouses for grain, but now really what we need is storehouses for the wonderful people who live in these abandoned towns. So this is one of my subjects. Most of them I did in the studio, but she wanted to do it outside. She was probably about 91 and lived with her husband. She loved irises. And in Japan, the irises bloom all summer, not just in the spring. And you can see here I am in her garden. And this is the way I start every painting, with a drawing on canvas. This is a painting I did for a show I did at the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. It was in the restaurant. Jamie Kennedy is a famous Canadian chef, and he was in the beginning of the farm-to-table movement. And so all of the paintings had to do with food. There was performance, a mezzo-soprano, a pianist, and it was all centered around food. And she represents Donovan's saffron. So saffron as an herb, the electrical bananas, the tea, the lemons, all the things that are talked about in the song, Saffron. People ask me, where do I get inspiration? And they think like inspiration is a bolt of lightning. I always say, get to work and you'll find inspiration, because there's inspiration everywhere you look. But if you don't start doing it, there's no paintings. There's nothing to share with the world. Creativity kind of wells from inside. It's like breathing. You can't help it. It's a way of living. So is it the most personal? You are a person and it comes from you, but creativity is a force. And so the force is like a conversation between you and the world and you. And if it's a portrait, between you and your subject, the subject and you, and then the third person enters who sees it as a painting. So these chairs were in my house in Toronto, and by the time they arrived here, the upholstery was not in the best condition, and I renovated the house. I got tired, and I'm like, I collect textiles. Why don't I just throw all kinds of textiles on the chairs, and then I don't have to send them out? And so that's what I did. This table I love because in my old house I had a floor that was a mosaic that I made of many pieces of stone that I got from the marble yard. I said, give me all your scraps. And I made this beautiful patchwork. I had one piece left, this piece of onyx, and it broke in transit. And I had these two plexiglass bases that I'd bought at a flea market, you know, because you never know what might come in handy sometime. And so I just took the broken pieces and put it on it, and I love it. It's just such an unusual coffee table. The porcelain that you see up there and the glass came from my great-grandfather's store. He had a glass and porcelain store in Budapest. On the side, those palettes, I never throw away my palettes. I never wash the paint off. They just pile up, and then eventually it gets too heavy, and I get a new palette. So these are two old ones. These lamps I love. They're 70s lamps. You'll see as you go through the house, I must have a thing for pink lights. So these are two pink lights, and I bought them at a flea market, and I had gotten there by 10 o'clock, and I couldn't believe that nobody had bought them. Even I thought, like at 6 o'clock, somebody would wake up and buy these two marvelous 70s plastic, actually, lights. The painting I did is of a farm that raises sheep. They're vegetarians, so they don't eat them. They're just pet sheep. And I went there many times, and the sheep never pose, but they have a curiosity, and they would come up and they'd start licking my canvas and wanted to be petted. So I love doing these animal scenes. So these mirrored cabinets, I bought them from a house where people had collected so much stuff. They love porcelain, and they're actually French from the 1700s. And this I bought at a flea market. I love porcelain that's in the shape of things that are not porcelain, so hence the strawberries. These are beautiful painted Japanese tea set. You'll see more of it up there. And these two little pieces are also from my great-grandfather. So when I bought this house, this room was all paneled wood, not beautiful paneling, like sauna paneling, and it was on a diagonal. When I pulled it off the wall, they'd put it on with a lot of glue, and so I had like these amazing gluey strips, which did not look good. The ceiling was a popcorn ceiling, so I had to put a new ceiling on it. But wherever there was plaster, I preserved the plaster. I used like a plaster mesh that you put on, and then you apply plaster just like in the old days. The crown molding, that's the original molding that was here, and I painted it in all these beautiful colors. I think that really gives the room the excitement, the warmth. It's like entering into the palace of candy. So now we're leaving the foyer and coming into the main space of the house. This is, I guess you call, the second hallway. And I think one of the things that also attracted me to the house is this magnificent staircase. It wasn't original to the house. This house was built in 1850. It was a pretty plain house because it was a spec house. The speculator went broke, somebody else bought it, and in the late 1800s, Herman Melville's brother bought it. Fast forward to 1900, where the neighborhood became much more expensive, and also people were much more interested in classical architecture. And so hence you'll see the lotus and the egg and dart, all these things that are classical. So I bought this in Mumbai, and I loved it. I always wanted one of these fountains. I didn't know where it was going to go because I had it in the backyard in my, not used, just stored in the backyard, in the basement, in a garage. And when I moved to New York, I kind of built this room around it. It was already a beautiful room, but there was a wall here. And you entered kind of to the basement to a warren of rooms. And I just wanted to open it up so that people could see the beautiful round of the whole thing. And so I built the stairs to go round because I also wanted people to enter the kitchen and see the garden, not look at a wall where it had been in the previous house. But of course, you know, there was a butler's pantry, and it was a whole different layout of a house where you lived with a lot of help. Right now, I'm the help, so I could take over the whole space. I also have to clean the whole space, but that's the joy of having a home. This is another self-portrait I did in my garden in Toronto. And actually, the dress I was wearing is a dress I designed to wear to my daughter's wedding. In the old adage, you can never be too young or too thin or too this or too that. You have freedom to do it when you do your self-portrait. I never really thought what goes into my mind. I think I put myself in my portraits in different situations. So my portrait becomes still life, landscape, and all the subjects that I use in my paintings. The first room that I saw when I entered the house was this room, and it was a square room, and something about it, the proportions, I just loved it. But it was covered with brown cedar stripping. The whole house was like a giant sauna. It was very dark, very bizarre. On the first floor, there were huge, big, very ugly pink tiles. As you see, I have nothing against pink because most of my house is pink, but it was not the kind of pink you could fall in love with. And so it was a very dark house, and what I needed to do is give it flow and light. So I have a background as a dancer. My second love after painting is dancing, and you'll see all my paintings are infused with movement and joy and everything that comes from dancing. So when I approach an architectural project, I see what it feels like in my body. I want people to feel comfortable as they walk room to room. And so that's how I create a flow. It's not by doing one color, because you'll see every room in the house is a different color. It's the way the space feels to you, and I had to make the space feel in a way that you could just flow through and feel great. No matter how elegant and fancy the house is, everybody just feels welcome and happy the minute they walk in the door. If I was a wonderful mezzo-soprano, which I'm not, I would stand here and sing my heart out. But in the meantime, come on into my dining room. Now we're entering the dining room, and this is the one room that wasn't ruined by cedar stripping all the way around. This was created in 1900. Like I said, that at that time people were much more into classical, and every home needed one of these beautiful paneled dining rooms. You'll see it at the Frick, at the Morgan, at the Cooper Hewitt. This is a mini version of it, but even they must have been stock components, because I've seen some of these components in those houses as well. So the ceiling was original to the 1900. I just had to put my stamp on it. Of course, it was in terrible condition, but I had to paint it probably about 12 different colors. And luckily, I found a painter who could remember each of my colorways, because I can't. I have no color memory at all. So when they were creating all of this beautiful paneling, they also created a sideboard that has the same elements in it. You see the dental, which is also a Greek thing. Here's the egg and dart. So you'll see these components of the rest of the room in this sideboard. So when I bought it, the agent said, well, the first thing you have to do is take the sideboard out. And I'm like, no, this is part of the room. It would have been nice to be able to hang a big painting here, but you have to compromise sometimes on design. And so you get one of my wonderful rooster paintings and chickens in the hen house, and flanked by two portraits and paintings of my garden. I think that having paintings in a dining room just bring it to life and actually give you an appetite for life. One thing I need to tell you is about this dining room table that I made. You kind of look at it and maybe it doesn't make sense, but what I'm going to tell you, this is a roast chicken. So here you see its tail, its body, its poor decapitated neck, and here you'll see there's the drumstick. And if you move over just here, you get to see the wing. These rolling chairs are kind of chicken themed because I wanted this to be like, this material is like a nest. So it's a little bit ovoid, but not exactly. I just woke up this one morning and had the idea that I'd like a roast chicken shaped table. And so my carpenter and I made it. So this is a series that my son did. It's a beautiful, evocative of flowers on a table and a person coming in the early morning light to look at it. I created this spiral staircase to go around the fountain, and I love the idea of round rather than just going straight. As you'll see, my staircase is rounded going up the whole house. And sometimes it's difficult when you're trying to add on something and change to make it so that it seems like it's not awkward. Either like it was always there or this is a new interpretation of it. So I would say this staircase is a new interpretation of the rest of my beautiful Art Nouveau staircase. Here we are in the kitchen, the beating heart of my house. I think kitchens are usually the beating heart of people's houses because it's where people love to gather. And so I have all kinds of parties in here. I have this huge, big island, so I can put out all kinds of food. I love to cook. I've cooked since I was a little child. You'll see here my collection of miniatures kitchens. Well, that was my original miniature kitchen. And I fell in love with cooking when I was about 5 years old. I always used to beg my mother, give me something that I can put in my miniature kitchen. And she gave me little alphabet noodles, and I put them in a pot, and I put water in it. And the next morning, they were like cooked noodles, and I'm like, this is magic. And so that set me off on a lifelong passion for cooking. And I love to nurture. I love to feed people. I love to make people feel good. And so food is a wonderful way of bringing people together. But that's kind of an obvious sentiment, but it's great. This is my love. This is my kitchen. I created myself. What's unusual about this kitchen is in contemporary homes, they want kitchens to look like they're not kitchens. Like in Victorian times, everything was disparate. There was no like fitted cabinets, but I wanted kind of a hybrid between a fitted cabinet and really having appliances. So I really wanted a stove that looks like a stove. I didn't want a stove that disappeared into the woodwork, so to speak. My dishwashers, I covered with some of my food paintings. So this is actually my palette. So you see all the paint on it, and then beautiful things from my haskap berries, radishes, all kinds of things, onions that I had picked from my garden. The freezer is another photograph that I took. I have kiwi vines here. They haven't given me kiwis. Maybe I got 2 this year. But I used to have abundant kiwis, and I created kiwi ice cream because the blossoms have this wonderful taste. So this I thought was appropriate for the freezer. On this dishwasher is honey in the garden. So we have all these beautiful tomatoes I grew and edible flowers on the grass. And I think the most innovative part is the fridge. So when I first bought the house, it had a very old glass like refrigerator, commercial refrigerator where you could see in the shelves. I mean, it was very old and decrepit and moldy and whatever. But I thought, okay, I'm not so organized and neat that I could have a glass-fronted fridge and you'd see all the contents. But I'm an artist. I can paint what's inside of my fridge and put it on my fridge. So this is like an enduring view of my fridge with all the kind of great party foods, lobsters, cakes, eggs, chops, cans, maple syrup, fruits, vegetables. Here it is for everyone to admire. So I had a dream for my countertop that I wanted to cover it with my food photographs, because there were about 5 years where in the summer I got up at 5 o'clock every morning, picked something from the garden, thought of a recipe, cooked it, styled it on my multitude of plates, and then photographed it just as the early morning light was coming on. So it was a beautiful, like, animated light. And somehow, through my drive, and I needed to have it done, I figured out how to have this manufactured. So when I bought the house, the kitchen was as bizarre as the rest of the house. It was black and white tiles, but little insets of like other things. These people actually thought they were artists, but it was just terrible. It was like you needed sunglasses when you came here, and not because it was so light. And also the floor was at kind of the level here. So my first job in doing the house, is getting rid of the warren of rooms that were here, because there used to be, not in the time I bought it, but originally in 1900 they had constructed a servant's dining room, a wine cellar, a cold cellar for jams and things like that. They had a bicycle room as well. But then in the 70s, when these people renovated again, it was just like little warrens of rooms. So the first thing I did is I dug down 3.5 feet to make this beautiful high ceiling, which just gives the room such warmth and light. And these are the original beams of the house. These are the 1850 beams. And I also had this idea that I would strip the walls. So the first were the black and white op art kind of tiles. Then came the 1900 renovation, which was subway tiles. Who knew that subway tiles is what they used in the 1900s, early 1900s? And then I came to the foundations, which you'll see sparkle, which is Manhattan's schist, which is what we all stand on in this beautiful island. The paintings that I chose for this room are all food themed. So yes, the chickens and the eggs, and this one has some Brussels sprouts and pumpkins. Over there you'll see, when it was rose season and rhubarb season, I created rose rhubarb ice cream. That's my Danvier ice cream maker, which I still have and pull out at most dinner parties, and people have to crank and make ice cream. And there were jam tarts, and this was in my old kitchen. So this was my mother's, and she bought it in Florida in the 1970s. And I always say, well, the kitchen was black and white because that was a style in the 1970s. But my mother had beautiful taste, and I love this Italian break front. So when I bought the house, they had just like, well, you know, the floor was here, and there were 2 sliding doors. And my idea was I just wanted to have an open house. So I had these doors made in Canada. They're teak. And it's very cold. We're in winter here in New York. But it takes me about 3 minutes to open up the entire wall. And so it's an indoor-outdoor space, which is quite unusual for the city. So I dug down in the basement, in the garden as well. It was always a 2-leveled garden. But originally there was a big, huge cement staircase that came almost to the door, and a fire escape from the first dining room out to there. But since it's a single family house now and it's sprinklered, I don't need that anymore to have a fire escape. So it was like just such a mess, this garden. And so I went to Philadelphia, which is like a paradise of salvage, and I bought this fencing. It was not in the form it is now, but somehow I had this feeling that I could make this work. And during the pandemic, when a lot of people were out of work because they were not allowed to work, I had iron welders from the airport come, and they put the ironwork together. So what's interesting is that little piece up there, I needed it because there's a staircase that goes up behind. I needed it to make the stair high enough, and I had just one little piece left, which I put over my fireplace. I had done a few events where I did hearth cooking, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to have a hearth in my home that I could cook on? And as I said, this was kind of the hearth height anyway, so this works out perfectly because you can cook in it, and it's just the right height. You don't have to bend down. So you remember upstairs by the fountain, I said there used to be a wall? This was the wainscoting for the wall. And I just turned it right side up, and I made a door because I wanted something that pulled the house together, and this was just perfect for doing that. So enter into my garden powder room. So as you see, there's like many themes inside my house. So I had created this lamp for my old gallery in Toronto, which I brought here. I had actually bought the lamp at the Bronx Botanical Garden, and I turned it into a light fixture. I mean, lamp, no, that's a watering can. It's not a lamp. The watering can, this beautiful apple picking ladder I actually found on the street. This sink I bought it Brimfield. It's from Hungary, and it's actually for kneading dough. And I came up with this idea that it had to float here. So you'll see little garden implements, and also, you know, it's rustic because of the schist wall. And the floor is interesting too, because in one bathroom in the house that I ripped apart, there was a plastic shower, and when I took the plastic shower out, it had solid marble walls. So one of the walls is my garden table that you saw right outside the kitchen door. And the other one I just broke up because actually they were really heavy, and the only way to maneuver them was by breaking it up. But I wanted it to be like a garden path. So this is my garden bathroom. So in this hallway, my miniature kitchen theme continues. This is a miniature cabinet that actually was my daughter's, would play with. And now her daughter plays with it. She loves all of these miniatures. This little kitchen came from Paris. It folds up because I couldn't bring a big kitchen from Paris, so I brought a little miniature kitchen. And this was a painting of my old kitchen, and I call it the artist's birthday. You see the birthday cake, the music, the crabs on the floor, the coffee being made, all of the animals and food and everything is alive. Even the bubbles in the sink are exciting. And I love these three paintings. This is a series by my son Joel Garten. This is beautiful oil pastels on paper. And I just love this collection. Here we have my elevator, a wonderful convenience for my house. I try not to use it except if I'm carrying something heavy because I like to stay in shape. But the story of the elevator, I think this was the hardest structural thing to do in the house because you have to have it made out of I-beams. It's like building a skyscraper within your house because the shaft can't move at all. So I had welders and this big steel came in, and then you have to have it double drywalled, and there can't be one tiny hole. So everything has to be fireproof. So it was really an exciting adventure and something new to learn how to put in a residential elevator. But it'll be here in 1 minute. It's hydraulic, it's not electric, so they have pistons and it runs very smoothly and quietly. It's really a marvel, and I can't believe that I have an elevator, let alone a staircase. Okay, I'm going for a ride. See you later. People often ask me how long I've been an artist, and I say, I think I came out of the womb with a paintbrush in my hand. So I've always been doing creative things. As a child, I danced, I made things, I played musical instruments, I, made dollhouse furniture, clothing for my dolls, like the whole gamut of cooking. I love cooking, the whole gamut of creativity. So every day I wake up and I say, how can I make the world more beautiful today? And that has really been my career path. I've been an artist all my life, and I've created beautiful spaces since my early 20s. Well, we've taken the long ride up to the 4th floor. Welcome to my studio. So this is my studio. This is where I paint, and people ask me, do I paint every day? I paint a lot here. As you'll see, I have volumes of work. I'm constantly thinking of new ideas, my passions, my people I know, people that I don't know that become close friends from posing for me. This is where it happens. I've had an over 40-year career in art with over 51 women shows all around the world. I have collectors in so many countries. I have so many people that I honor that I have met them, that they collect my work, they become friends. It's an explosive experience and also a very intimate experience. I love doing portraits because being an artist is a little bit lonely, and it's wonderful to get people into the studio, and it's a wonderful conversation. It's non-threatening. I love doing portraits. We really get to know each other because it really is a dialogue between the sitter and myself and the sitter. So I always ask my subjects to bring something of importance for them. So it becomes kind of a touchstone for the painting, and it enters into the vocabulary of the painting, the composition of the painting. So for example, this is one that I just finished. This is of Omri, who's one of my dance teachers, and he actually brought 3 objects. He brought a spool of red thread. He brought a big stuffed lion, because he's a Leo, and a sculpture that he had made in high school. And he wore a sweater that his mother made. So it's really a very beautiful, intimate portrait of a wonderful human being, a very deep thinker, and a very beautiful mover. This is Gordie Johnson. As an object, he brought his double custom-made bass. And he lives in Austin now. And I guess it's prescient that he was wearing red cowboy boots in this particular painting. This is my family, part of my family. This is my daughter, my grandson, and my granddaughter. They were here just during the holidays, so this is a very recent work. And yeah, the kids don't stay too still, but it's like, you don't need to stay stock still in my paintings. I welcome people to move around, because actually, as you move around, you become more yourself. You become in the position that you usually take. The face is the last thing I paint, because all of you is also in your movement, about how you hold yourself. A lot of paintings, as I say, the face is the last thing, and people come to my studio and say, "Oh, hi, that's so-and-so," because they can tell right away that it's them, even without the face. So maybe the eyes are not the portal to the soul. Your whole being is your portal to your soul. This is part of my still life series. Before I went to Japan, I really had to do that huge job of 18 portraits in 2.5 months. So I did a quick series of still lifes. And so these are my different toys, my Kewpie dolls. I guess this one is mainly Kewpie dolls. But it's all about the composition. Like in still lifes, you really get to think about composition in a different way, because the things are not moving. And as you use the same objects over and over again, it's not like you have to depict the object. You already know how to depict the object, how to draw it. And so it gives you a different kind of freedom to create new compositions. This is also a portrait of my family. My cousin Valerie von Sobel came to visit, and she didn't give me a lot of time, but she's an amazing dresser, and she was wearing, this is not made up, everything, the butterflies, it was kind of a piece of face jewelry that she was wearing. And this is my daughter, and this is my granddaughter, and this little dog was not here, but my cousin always has dachshunds, so I had to include that in the painting. This is a painting of my garden in Toronto. It's a diptych. It's 2 panels. And I loved to have enormous things in my garden. So this is a giant taro that I had, and I planted them year after year. It was unusual to have something so tropical in a garden in Canada. And as you see, my aesthetic of my garden, there's Swiss chard, there's tomatoes, there's nasturtiums, there are eggplants. Everything is growing in a kind of harmony. There's no hierarchy of what's more beautiful than other things in a garden. Everything that grows is beautiful. If you look at the way I would create my garden every year, I'd start with a blank canvas. I didn't have a lot, except for my roses, I did not have perennials. So the soil was like a blank canvas. And then you kind of place things on the soil that you think will look good. And as it grows, you kind of groom it in a way that you want its composition. And of course, the energy, and also that you can't plan everything. Like gardens have serendipity to it. Paintings have serendipity to it. And what the artist's role is to make sense of the serendipity. Artists kind of recreate the world, reshape the world. it's like science. We're trying to understand how the world is put together. And that's what composition is, and color, and movement, and plasticity, and all the things that happen on a very flat surface. So I've been doing a lot of portraits, and I've done a few self-portraits. And so I thought, I found a box in the basement with all my old still life objects. And I said, it's time to start doing a still life. And so I've done, kind of moved into a bigger still life format that I used. And I put up my old bears. I bought these all at a flea market in Budapest. I think they're German wind-up toys. Usually I have my subject sitting here, my human subject, but today I have some inanimate subjects here. And I lined up that, and I did it differently than I used to do still lifes. Usually I'd put them on a table. But now I feel like I know the objects well enough that they can go on different planes. So there's this plane, and then things sitting on the floor, and of course, things at different perspectives that don't exist in real life. But that's the story of early 20th century art, and also Japanese art, where you play with the perspectives. People are always fascinated by my palette and my paints, and they can't really understand this organization. But at art school, you're taught to clean your palette every day and scrape off all the paint and start again. And I always thought, what a waste of paint, because oil paint stays viable for quite a long time. Sometimes you have to poke underneath it. But also, the paint is laid out in a logical pattern. And to me, to start every day to do this logic is like, it interferes with actually getting to work. You have to think about something else. And I keep on getting more and more colors. Somehow, when I look at them, I know from the outside what the colors are. It's just an instinct that I know what's what. I mean, I do have them a little bit organized in some other places, but mainly it's in this jumble of wonderfulness and color. Is it necessary for people to go to art school to do art? No, I don't think so at all. As a matter of fact, I followed a career path where I went to the kind of the high school where they wanted you to go to Yale or Vassar or any of those. And I felt like I really didn't want to learn how to do art in an academic setting. So I actually did go to art school. I went to the Boston Museum School, which was the top-rated art school in the country at that time. But I stayed there a year, and then I actually just then apprenticed with 2 artists in their studio. And that's really how I learned how to paint, but not just how to paint, like how to set up shows, how to live the life of an artist. So is it necessary? No, my son never went to art school, and he does these amazing paintings. He collects a lot of self-taught Southern art. I also have quite a bit of the Souls Run Deep artists. So do you need to go to art school? No. I mean, art was created from like cave art. You go into the caves in France, and the art is so beautiful it can make you cry. Maybe, I don't think that they were done by just anybody. I think those were the artists of the time. How did they learn? They apprenticed each other. They knew how to make the pigments, how to apply them. Those kind of technical things are things that you learn in art school, but technique is really not that important. Everybody finds a technique that works for them. What's really, truly important is expression. And no school can teach you how to really express yourself as an artist. When I originally bought this house, this was a really dark space. It was a warren of tiny little rooms with, again, all that cedar stripping. I think the diamond stripping was about here. And I knew I had to do something this was not going to be a studio because I love light. I only paint during the day. I can't paint by artificial light. So I started by just taking down wall after wall after wall, and taking down the ceiling too, so that I have these exposed beams and a higher ceiling. And As you see, my dining room is so ornate and old-fashioned, and I'm so lucky I get to create all these different kinds of spaces because I have that formal dining room, and here I have a New York loft. White, exposed brick. It's paradise. So welcome to the studio bathroom. So I wanted this room to be kind of more fun. My first inspiration for this room is I walked into a bath store and I saw these knobs. And I just love these red knobs. And I thought, wow, okay, I need that for my bathroom. And for that, I had taken down the ceiling. The skylight was original to the house. And so red and white ceiling, bathtub. I need a red bathtub. And I love scallops. So I had these custom made in California, these scallop tiles. And then, wow, I needed a scalloped chandelier, which is mother of pearl. I think they're made in the Philippines. And I love this mirror. It's so different than the rest, but it's also quite the same because like these knobs make flowers and they're the flowers up here. And actually there was a niche here, not as symmetrical because it's part of the fireplace of the house next door. So I made these shelves for my toy boats. As you see, I love toys. This actually was the original ladder to the roof. It was in a different corner. It was at the top of the stairs. It was like you had to squeeze yourself through a hole like this to get to the roof. So I made it my towel bar. This is an antique from Saskatchewan. This is what I keep my toiletries in. Rooster painting, of course. And one of my old palettes. Practically every room needs one of those. Right off the studio is my guest room. And actually, the room I hid out in when I was renovating the house. So this room had much thinner cedar stripping. It was like a cedar closet in here. And I decided, actually in this room, it would be fun just to paint it all white. So I have like my little summer cottage up here. So I painted it white. I put in the crown molding, which of course makes every room better. And it had a pine floor, and I'm like, I need a blue floor. I absolutely need a blue floor. And so it is. This armoire I had made in Toronto, and it's artist themed because you see their paintbrushes here. And those monkeys used to sit on top of the cabinet. They were part of the cabinet, but the ceiling is too low, so I put them on the wall. These are monkey paintings. When I did my project in Japan, on my spare time, I'd go see the monkeys that swim in the hot springs. And I did many paintings of them. And as wild as they were, sometimes they would actually pose for me. I love monkeys, as you see, there's monkey theme. And also, my son, when he comes to New York, he uses my studio, and he creates tons of beautiful art. They're just like flow from his soul. He's such an amazing artist. And his main métier is he's a composer on the piano. He does improvs, very passionate, very interesting. Like you're always at the edge of your seat. What is happening next? And I think it's reflected in his paintings as well. So these strawberries were kind of a window display in a department store that went defunct. And I knew I had to have them. I waited till midnight till it came up in the auction when I finally bought them. And these wonderful heart-shaped things, I've had them for so long. I don't know what they are, but they look like the same technique as toilet covers. But of course, you don't have heart-shaped toilet seats. But I bought them at the flea market in Thailand, in Bangkok, and I've loved them ever since. They followed me everywhere. This is where I dream my dreams, and every day I wake up in a garden. So we talked about my garden series in my studio. This was a passion of mine, my garden. Every year I would plant it, and not only would I plant it and enjoy it, and the public would enjoy it, but it would smell delicious. It would taste delicious. I would cook from it. And it was my subject. So this is one series that I did in my garden. When I finished this room, I went up to my painting storage. I had the measurements. And lo and behold, this series, which is not contiguous, fit exactly in this room. Perfect. I love waking up in my garden every day. Besides being my garden room and waking up seeing this amazing green ceiling and this beautiful Venetian 1950 chandelier and these crazy balls that I decided I needed a ton of and make a molding out of, I call this the room of slightly strange chairs. So here we have this beautiful Burmese throne chair, which I have a lot of things from Burma, but actually I bought this from Philadelphia. This chair I've had from the 70s, so it's original. I have to recover it because I had to take the cover off. This chair, this flower chair, is probably perfect for someone who loves botany because you can just sit in it and contemplate the rest of the garden. The house originally had 8 fireplaces, but I know from my past house, which also had 8 fireplaces, you never use 8 fireplaces. Also in New York, it's extremely expensive to bring the fireplaces up to code and line them. And you're not allowed to have a fireplace in the bedroom. So why not make it a library? So I have all my wonderful art books. And this is not book burning. This is book non-burning, appreciating art, books, life, stories, biography, frames, pictures, everything that goes into a rich life. So I'm trying to remember what this room was originally when I first saw the house. I think it might have been like a gym with a bar. Not a drinking bar, a ballet bar, which actually I wouldn't mind having now, but that's not what I wanted in my bedroom. So this bedroom was really a blank slate. It had 1970 floor, so I took it back down to the original parquet from 1900. And then I had you'll see in one of my rooms I have a mirror, and in colonial times they had a molding that they used in mirrors that had little balls hanging off of it. So I ordered boxes and boxes of balls on Amazon, little wooden balls. And I thought, what am I going to do with them? This was actually the last room I completed in the house. And so I came up with this idea of having the balls suspended from the ceiling, which also goes with the chandelier. And I love it. No one else has molding like this. So the house originally had, not great doors, just normal doors. And in my adventures in the salvage yards of Philadelphia, I found these 2 sets of doors that came from a mansion probably in the 1890s. And I brought them home. Of course, I had to put my painting touch on it. I love a little bit of a gold molding. It's fantastic. And what's great about it is I made the ceiling higher here so that you have like a grand entrance. And I had a matching set for the other side that's the entrance to the bathroom. So why don't we take a peek in my bathroom? Before we get there, though, I have to tell you about this molding. So the previous owners left me this huge Art Nouveau credenza in the front hallway. It was too big for the hallway. I tried to sell it, but nobody was interested in this huge, big piece of Art Nouveau furniture. So I thought, what's the best elements of it? And it was all these wonderful carved pieces. Like you see, this is very Art Nouveau. And so I took the carved pieces off of the piece of furniture, and I had enough for these 2 doorways, and I reconfigured it in a new way and made moldings. This is my wow bathroom. So I love Islamic art. So the bathroom was inspired by Islamic architecture and objects. So the one thing that I knew I wanted it bright in here, and I had this idea of opalescent tiles. And I looked all over, and finally a friend who lives in Mexico came here and she said, I have the perfect tiles for you. I use them in my house. So these are actually Mexican pool tiles with this beautiful iridescence. But you start one simple thing, and if you're me, it gets more and more complicated. So of course I couldn't just have white plain tiles, I had to have mosaics. So I picked out some gold tiles, and then I kept on ordering little squares of mirror, and then I'm like, oh, but that mother of pearl tile is so pretty, and so I kept on ordering mother of pearl tile, and then I had like these little elements that I could use. So I had these Victorian glass tiebacks, and they came into the picture. Those, you'll see more of them in the shower. The only thing that's original from this house that was from the old renovation were these two mirrors that I kept. And then I'm like, okay, so how can I bring it into the room? And you'll see my shower here. I created this arch for the shower. This room was also not in this shape at all. It was also cedar stripping with a very funny ceiling that went like this. And there was a little staircase somewhere in the corner. So I started like, not with a grand plan, but like as each element came by, I would make up the tile work for it. I started on these walls, and I guess to mirror this, I've had this disco ball since the 70s. I found it in a house I was renovating. This is a column from an old house. And so like I knew I wanted to create mosaic columns on the side of the mirrors. On the side of the windows, I just wanted to design. And like one of my favorite things is paisley. So I knew I needed a paisley-shaped bathtub. And my amazing carpenter at night looked at boat building videos, and he figured out how to make this shape. It's actually built like a boat, and then it's fiberglass, and then waterproofed, and then the tiles went in it. So paisley is a beautiful element. This chandelier I had custom made in Morocco. These mirrored pieces, also a kind of mosaic craft. This is mercury glass. I don't think it's real mercury. So this came from Udaipur. I had shipped from India. These are Turkish bath shoes. These are, in the Turkish bath, after you're really hot and steamy, they serve you sorbet. So these are antique sorbet spoons from Istanbul. These are old wallpaper printers. This is they roll them, and that's how they make the tape. I also have ancient beauty supplies. This is a mascara, so they put makeup for your eyes in it. These are old, this is Roman. These are old perfume things. These are for togas. They're the pins that hold them closed. I have 3 of them. This is, I bought in India. This is beautiful. This is quartz shaped into a bowl. And totally off topic, I have this chair. I have always wanted this chair from the 70s. It's a French designer, and it was called his friend's chair because he had his friend model for the shape of it, and I just love it. So this door I bought in Jaipur in India. It comes from an old house. It was actually too short for the doorway that I wanted, so I added some wood to the bottom to make it to the right proportion of this room. And of course I had to discreetly also put it on the bottom of the door. These actually, this one, I bought in a little hardware store in Marrakesh. It was like a little hardware outlet. It was like the size of my shower. And it's actually the pole that goes this way, but I thought, oh, it's great, I could use as a handle for this door. And welcome into this room. This is where the toilet and the sink are. This mirror is also from Udaipur. The lamps are Moroccan. This is from like an 1850 Turkish hammam. And my idea that I wanted a floating counter. So this was an engineering feat to build these counters. And just to make the sink the right height, I had to lower this. And then when it was all done, I needed to paint it. And the inspiration came from courtyards in madrasas, in Islamic schools, that they have these huge, big stripes. They're not usually in this colorway, but I must say navy and pink are one of my favorite color combinations. So I had this dream come true too, that I had a navy and pink room for my sink. So this was the last part of the bathroom. So this was the grand finale, the shower. So the idea in my head was it was like walking in a garden. So here we have a fountain. Here, this is a reflecting pool. And you'll see like little jets of water there. Then there's a giant urn. And then you have this explosion of flowers. And what's interesting about this is the material that I use. So these gold tiles, I had done a bathroom around 40 years ago that had little gold fishes. They're actually gold. And I saved about 40 of them. I had them in a little plastic bag all these years. And when I did this house, I have one tile left. This comes from a bathroom on the second floor that doesn't look like this at all because they're all together, but I took the glass apart to make petals. These are various kind of samples I bought, so I just pulled them off the board and made the bugs and the flowers out of them. The tie backs, these glass Victorian tie backs, I bought from the estate of the man who started the American wing at the Metropolitan Museum. And actually they have the other 5 of these in their stack. And I bought some less important ones also. Just these are probably 20s. And also the green circles on the top, in the dining room, there were 2 stained glass windows that were like falling down and made the dining room even darker than it is. So I saved all the little green circles and I used them in my shower. So this is like a shower of memory. I love having space. I came from a very large house. And I grew up in an apartment in New York, and my dream was to have a staircase. And now I have 5 stories of a staircase, so that dream has come true. And I love having people over for dinner, for salons, for concerts. I love sharing my house and meeting new people. There's a myriad of things I love about my home, but not to sound egocentric, but what I love most about my house is it's mine, that I created it. This is my entire vision, my dreams, my passion, and all the work I've put into it. Welcome to my living room, or if you'd like to call it, the Grand Salon. It's where I have salons and concerts and speeches and all kinds of fun things. So this painting I did for the show I mentioned that was all about food. And I saw this beautiful opera singer at a concert, and I thought, I have to get to know this person. And so I went up to her and I said, would you pose for a portrait? And she said, well, after I give birth, I'll come and pose for you. And this is called the Nursing Diva. She's nursing her baby. And we've been lifelong friends. And what she says about posing for me, she says, it's kind of a combination of having tea with a dear friend and going to a therapist. And this is one of my iconic works. This is also a friend of mine, Eva Goyen, who's this incredible pianist and now composer as well. This is a piano which no house can be without. This was an archway into my old house. These are Art Deco chairs that I covered with dead stock sari material. I used to have 2 of these chairs. They were actually twin beds, and I shortened them to just the right for a chaise, but in this room, I thought 2 of them were too much. It houses a little bit of my collection of textiles. This is a kimono. These are from Uzbekistan. But what's really interesting is this was another portrait that I did in the series in Japan. This man worked in a kimono factory, and I went to visit him there. And he did all of the stenciling on the beautiful bridal kimonos. So this is actually his work that he gave to me, all these beautiful textiles. So what kind of questions do I ask people who come from portraits? You know, it's much more organic than asking a question. It's not like an interview, like I'm not a journalist, but I am, like my project in Japan, I did feel like I was an anthropologist, a sociologist, I mean, all these, a psychiatrist, all of these interests come into when you interact with a person. And so, do I start off with a question? No, the conversation just flows. It's not a journalistic expedition, even though in Japan it was slightly different because I did have things that I would ask people, and I had a translator. And one day the translator, I was sitting there and I was like, I really was working hard. It was like a crazy schedule to get all these done. And I asked the translator, just ask the questions. You know what questions I'm going to ask. And she said, no, I could not do that. Because she felt funny asking people questions, where as an artist, you can ask people anything. So this quote unquote bed, because this is guest bed, party where people sit to listen to concerts, where people played board games. My kids used to, you know, do all kinds of fantasy games. I've had tea parties on it. But it originally comes from Bali, from Indonesia. I bought it there and had it shipped home. And I had a mattress made for it. And I had it reinforced. There's steel underneath it. So many people can sit in here and it won't fall apart. The lights in it, those are Egyptians. That's from Tunisia. And it has some textiles from around the world. I made this pillow out of a beautiful old obi. I stuffed it. These were actually part of my dancing costume when I danced in Bali. This is from Pakistan. This one is the oldest one. It actually came from my grandparents' apartment in Budapest. So that's very special. I wonder, doesn't everybody have a big paintbrush in their living room? I mean, it stands next to this beautiful biblical painting by my son. I had a gallery, and I had 2 of these brushes made for the gallery. They were outside. And as an artist, proportion is everything. So you'll see in my house, I go from the tiny to the giant, because the size of things and the way they fit together is just so fascinating. So why not have a giant paintbrush? So we're now entering the library guest room. When I bought this house, okay, they hadn't put cedar stripping on these walls, this 1900 paneling, which is quite different in style from the one in the dining room, but I have seen this in different houses of that period. Even this mantelpiece, I've seen it in several different museums. So they were stock items. But it had this crazy lowered ceiling, also in some kind of bizarre shape. And I knocked through like tons of cedar, like piled up in the floor, to reveal the original ceiling. I don't know why they ever thought that they needed to lower these beautiful 12 and a half foot ceilings. But they did, and I knew that this was a dark room, and so I used, as I said, I love pink and navy. I love navy and gold. So this was really quite a job. My painter couldn't do this. I had to have my carpenter actually laser all of these lines so that they were even. But this is so many, these were from my old house. This is covered in French provincial tapestry. These were custom made. The poof was custom made. People always ask me about these paintbrushes. These are Chinese, and they were used outside of temples where they were dripped in water, and then there was calligraphy done on the sidewalk, and it was ephemeral because they would just evaporate. These 2 copper balls, they were on the top of a building, and as they were tearing it down, I'm like, wait, I need those balls. So I bought them from the wrecking company and then had them polished. These are Tibetan horns. They fold up for easy transport. I mean, these are much taller, but these are the smaller ones that I bought in Tibet. These are paintings of irises I had in my garden. I had a neighbor who was a nun who had moved into the neighborhood in 1915, and she gave me some of the irises from her garden because her father was a bulb importer, and I guess iris corms as well. And so every year they would bloom and they smelled like grapes. They were just so fantastic. So annually I did a few paintings of them. They faded very quickly, so I had to get there right at the moment every year that they started to blossom. And the interesting things, this is the room, this is my temple to Bohemia, I call it. So amazingly, I bought these in Morocco. What's interesting about them is that they're made from aloe fiber. And these are different dead stock saris, Moroccan carpets. My mother loved leopards, so those were her pillows. This is a beautiful, also from Uzbekistan. Anything that's purple is very special, and these are gold threads. I have another, this one is from Turkey. This is a beautiful jacket with gold thread, and of course my favorite, has some of my favorite paisley. These are interesting. My father had a textile mill in New Jersey, and I went back there, and they had a museum across the street from his now it's a loft, but from his factory. So the director of the museum gave me all of these that came from his factory that was across the street. And they also had the original sign. I had wanted to go back there with a ladder and a screwdriver, but when I got there, the museum had it. So it's lovely. They have his sign, they have some of his machinery, and they have a lot of his threads. And this is really interesting because this is a Jacquard card. This was the original computer. On, off, on, off. On the top of my shelves, I have, these are various things from Japan with the textile theme, a weaver. That's a tile from a roof. On the other side, there's some pieces of temples from Burma. Those are also from Burma. On top, they're from the 1700s. They're overdoors from Venice. This lamp actually was in my parents' living room since the 1950s. I love the sculpture on it. This is a painting of a videographer and Garane Tarosian. And she brought as her object this bag of hers and these Armenian crosses. And so since she was a filmmaker, there's all of this film going on and all of these eyes watching you. Also, the room just had small little windows. So I made these doors because I wanted to bring in more light. And the railings are from Philadelphia Salvage. There's a theme going on here, but they're the same age as the house. And the transoms were there. They were just covered up. So I was able to keep with the beautiful high proportions of the room. I had to kind of work on this a little bit because there were radiators here, so I had to change the dynamic of it. These are things I've collected all over Asia. I have some antiquities here. I love archaeology. These are hair ornaments from Indonesia. This is actually a napkin from my grandmother's trousseau, and there are her initials, Aranka Zucker, AZ. This is a part of a Greek plate. I don't know, this is just a museum of wonderful, beautiful things that are made by people in this wonderful, beautiful world. Home means to me a place where I can be free to create and enjoy life. Bye, Homeworthy. Thank you for coming. It's been so much fun. But I gotta get back into the studio. Time for painting. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.